Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. It's been a minute, hasn't it? For those of you who don't know, I've been taking a little bit of a break from streaming because of reasons. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about what we're here to do today. Now, I have really for the last week or so been taking it pretty easy. I reached kind of like a point of peak burnout with just a whole lot of things. You guys can go back and watch the stream where I was crying if you want more information about that. So I don't want to rehash it. But in the midst of me taking a break, and by the way, one of the things I've been doing to take a break is I really haven't been watching the news or even looking at the news. I honest to God have no idea what's going on in the news. And then lo and behold, yesterday, I start seeing my Twitter timeline filled with nonsense regarding this January 6th prime time shit show of a hearing. And so I was like, I have to do a reaction to this. I just have to. For those of you who don't know, maybe you're a little bit new to my channel. I was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I even got to be interviewed by the FBI about January 6th. That was, words I never thought I would say in my life. And so I have very distinct feelings and opinions about how much the media and the Democratic Party and shills like Liz Cheney have hijacked what actually happened in Washington, D.C. that day to use it for their own political motivations. And so when I saw that this hearing was happening in prime time, no less, like, can you be more any more propaganda? I was like, I got to do a reaction to this. Normally on Fridays on my second channel, not actually on this one, on my second one, youtube.com/actively unwoke. Normally at this time we have happy hour, which is when we watch a woke training and I have some beers and I comment on it. But I just thought, just for like a nice little, because I'm kind of coming back. I was taking a break, so I'm kind of coming back. And I just thought we'd do something a little different today. Just to get it. And I also know too that there were many of you that wanted to watch this but didn't think you could stomach it if you were kind of like in your living room by yourself watching on C-SPAN or well, I guess Fox News didn't even air it, but like every other station did. So we're going to get through this together. And guess what? I do have my beers. We're going to talk about the beers in a second. I will show you what I'm drinking. I hope that you have your drink of choice as we make our way through this. I mean, who even knows how long this stream is going to be? This might be like an all-night affair. So just like go grab a snack, go grab a nice beer, a nice glass of wine, maybe something even a little bit harder, or water or lemonade or soda or whatever floats your boat. Let us know what you're drinking in the chat. I definitely am going to need some drinks to be able to get through this stream. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But before we get into that, I just want to say, and this might not be as relevant for people who don't watch my channel regularly, but I do just want to make a couple comments about, the break that I've been taking. And Thomas, thank you for the super chat. Thomas says, everybody needs a break. Welcome back. Last week, maybe it's not even been a week. I don't even know. Time is meaningless anymore. I basically broke down for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to rehash the reasons that I broke down. But like, I do want to say that I really didn't think I was going to come back this quickly. This is probably the worst level of burnout that I've ever had in my life. I basically kind of cut off the vast majority of things that I was doing and have just been relaxing. But the reason that I'm back and the reason I am going to start resuming things next week, some things, not all things, is because of you guys. And I really do genuinely mean that. Listen, when you do this, I can't explain what it's like, but like for people who don't do YouTube or don't do this sort of thing, the vast majority of what you hear is negative feedback all the time. Negative feedback, people who hate you, people who are criticizing you, people who want to do things differently. Da, 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 da. And then on top of that, I have a band of people that's been bullying and stalking and harassing me for the last year and a half, and I just broke. And the reason that I think I was able to come back so quickly is, well, first off, I started I really doubled down on like my meditation and self-care. But truly, the reason that I'm coming back as quickly as I am is because of you guys. I got hundreds of notes. I got hundreds of comments. And I really just want to say thank you. Thank you to the people who took time to write me a comment, Thank you to the people who took time to tell me that what I've been doing is meaningful for them. And thank you especially to my locals community, because one of the things that I cut back on this past week was the community Zooms I do in locals. And my locals are so awesome. And special shout out to Fran. I think it was Fran. And anyone else who had a part in this. Like special shout out to people in locals, because what my locals members actually did was they coordinated to run the community Zooms on their own. So I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to be there. I could just rest and relax and kind of recuperate. And I'm just so, so, so grateful for everyone. So I really do appreciate it, guys. I do feel a lot better. It is a little touch and go sometimes. I feel pretty good right this second. But I really like I don't want to be in a bad place. And I might do some more, like I might do some a stream maybe over the weekend talking about my self-care routine and things like that, because really meditation, man, meditation is awesome. And the great thing about meditation is you can really change your reality and your perspective in an instant. And so I might do a stream talking about that. Also, just so you guys know, we will be having a Sassy Saturday tomorrow. I just haven't made the stream yet. We will be doing Sassy Saturday starting at 6 p.m. tomorrow. My partner in crime, Graphically Alex, I actually don't know what we're watching. Graphically Alex has picked out some John Doyle videos. I have never watched a John Doyle video. So Alex has picked out a couple that we're going to be reacting to starting at 6 p.m. tomorrow. I'll tell you more about that in the morning, I guess. Brian, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you. And George says, I'm glad you're feeling well enough to stream. We love you and wish you get well soon. You're very important to us. I really thank you guys. Sometimes I just oftentimes feel like I'm just sitting in my second bedroom talking into a computer. It's like so I really, it really does mean a lot to me to know that I do mean something to you guys. So I appreciate it. Incognito, take your time and let's have fun. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun today. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. But before we get into it, speaking of my amazing locals community, I just want you guys to know, if you have not joined my locals yet, we will be coming back with community Zooms that I will be taking care of starting on Monday. We do community Zoom calls twice a week. We do them on Mondays at 7 p.m. and Wednesdays at noon. I will be hosting them next week, so you guys don't have to worry about it anymore. I promise. And my locals, honestly, I the people in my locals are so awesome. They are the most sane. It is the most sane place on the internet. I'm really like I just feel so blessed to be surrounded by these people. I really think that when it comes to creating content, the audience you have is reflective of the creator. And I think I'm pretty proud of myself, I think, for cultivating what is just an amazing audience. And I would love for you guys to join us. I would love for you guys to get to know everyone. You can actually join locals for free. You don't have to pay anything. You just go to kb.locals.com and join for free, set up a free account. It's a great way to keep in touch in case I get censored or banned, or who knows if this Twitter sale is going to go through for Elon Musk now. So it would be a place where you can always find me, because I'm not going to get banned off of locals, I don't think. But if you do want to support the work I'm doing and get access to all sorts of exclusive perks, you can head over to kb.locals.com/support, and you can sign up to be a monthly member for $5 a month. You can sign up to be an annual member for $50 a year, $50, which gives you 2 months for free. Oh, the overlords don't want us doing this stream, apparently. Hang on. Oh, let there be light. You can sign up for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. If you want to give me more money, you can. You can just go in and edit thing. You know what? I think Karlyn's so great. I want to give her $100 for the year. And of course, I would really appreciate that. But the minimum buy-in is $5 a month, $50 a year. And I promise that I will give you lots of features and exclusive perks to make it all worth it. Nathaniel said, just wanted to let you know I'm happy to hear you again. The overlords at Twitter ignored my report and said no violations to our TOS happened on this account. Keep up the good fight. Yeah, that's bullshit. You want to know something about that account? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. That account is the second version of that account. The first version of that account got banned off of Twitter for doxing my house. They actually posted pictures of my house that are not publicly available pictures. And the first version of that account got banned off of Twitter. So any notification from Twitter saying this account isn't violating our terms of service is inherently wrong, because they are, just by virtue of existing on the platform, no matter what they're tweeting. George says, has the editor bothered to tell you when the audiobook will be out? Sorry for nagging about that, but I want to hear your sweet voice to sleep. I have been emailing with them. They're working on it. The editor has the audiobook. They're working on it, and I will have more information about that as soon as I can. And Judy says, rerouting my Brandon Schrock support. Judy, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, before we get into our stream, I need a drink. Okay. And usually, what we do for happy hours is I tell you guys about, I usually get 4 beers, or actually have some ciders this time, I think. I bought these yesterday. I don't even remember what I bought. But I want to show you guys what I have for selection and see what you guys are feeling for today. I want to start with a cider. I have a 1911 blueberry. This is a premium, like small batch cider. And the reason I like 1911 cider is I can't really show you guys this, but the can just feels so nice. It has a nice texture to it. This is a blueberry cider. I've had their raspberry before. I appreciate the raspberry quite a bit. Let me see. What else do I have? I want to make sure these are beers. Okay. We'll do this one next. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a poll. And in this poll is a shout out for Patrice about which one you want me to drink. What do you want me to start with? And our first option is blueberry cider. Our second option is going to be, it's a Great Rhythm lemon berry squish. And this is, what is this? This is a sour ale with blackberries, blueberries, lemon, and milk sugar. So that is our second option. I do like lemon and berries together quite a bit. That's our second one. Let's see. Yeah, this one is next. This is called, I just really thought this can was so pretty. Isn't that pretty? This is called Blue Steel, and it's a goose ale. So goose for beer is going to be like a nice light beer. And it's got blueberry and raspberry, and that's that one. So we'll add another option. Hang on. Blue Steel. And our final one is, look at this, is a cool can too, isn't it? This is actually from the same company as this Blue Steel one. This is called I Love Chocolate. And this is a sour ale with strawberry and white chocolate. So I've made some good selections, I think. So let me just add this as an option, and then we'll put the poll in the chat. Strawberry chocolate. All right, polls in the chat. Let me know which one you would like me to start with. I actually don't have an opinion, to be honest. I'm not gonna sway the chat. I thought I had like an imperial stout in there. I guess I actually do have an imperial stout downstairs, but I guess I didn't bring it upstairs. But let me know what you would like me to drink. And in the meantime, as you're answering that poll, and of course, guys, please mount the like button if you are excited to watch the January 6th hearing with me today. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. When I'm on my regular when I'm on my regular streaming schedule, I do stream every day at 5 o'clock, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on my main channel. On Fridays, we do my second channel. We do happy hour. And then sometimes on Saturdays, we do Sassy Saturday. And we will be doing Sassy Saturday tomorrow at 6 p.m. I will be watching John Doyle videos for the first time. Graphically, Alex will be joining me. He has picked them out. I'm told we're watching a video about porn. So that'll be nice. But let's see. Let's see how the poll is going. And thank you guys for mounting that like button. We got 44 votes so far. So 100 of you or so still need to vote in the poll. And actually, the strawberry white chocolate one is kicking ass. So if you want me to drink something other than strawberry or white chocolate, like speak now or forever hold your peace. And let me know again what you're drinking in the chat. Oh, fuck. Is it Bitchcraft Saturday, Judy? Oh, Judy, you're right. It is Bitchcraft Saturday. We can do Bitchcraft. I think we can do Bitchcraft tomorrow. Fuck. I apologize. So in my locals, we do a Bitchcraft on the second Saturday of every month. I think we can do Bitchcraft tomorrow. I'll post an announcement in locals. Dude, I cannot believe we are halfway through the month of June. I can't believe it. Yeah, this thing is a sham. Wow, AD, it's good to see you. All right, guys, last call for poll votes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding, ding, ding. We're going to go with I Love Chocolate for the first beer. I'm excited to try this. Yeah, we'll do Bitchcraft tomorrow. I think we can. I need to double check on something. I may have accidentally scheduled a meeting at that time, but I will check it out. Look how pretty that is. Oh, I wasn't expecting it to be that pretty for some reasons. I guess strawberry and white. Oh God. Oh God, there's all sorts of stuff in that beer. I think I should have had to shake it or something. There's all sorts of stuff in that beer. Look at that. Can you see that? I don't know what that is. Man. Like lactose or something? I'm gonna just give that a little stir. Try to blend all that stuff in with the, that's gotta be the chocolate. I bet you that's the chocolate. Sometimes beers have weird things in them these days. I do need a spoon. No, book club isn't that day. Book club's next week, Sin. Book club is next week. Book club is on the 18th. But Bitchcraft is supposed to be tomorrow, but we're going to make that happen. All right, let me get a sip. Yeah, that's legit. That's legit. I don't know that I think it tastes like chocolate, but it definitely tastes like strawberry. All right, guys, who's ready to get this party started for today? Please mount that like button if you're ready to go. And, oh God. All right, I'm saying, right now I'm saying a prayer. I'm saying a prayer. Bless us. Oh my God, King Peter of the chat. King Peter of the chat, thank you for the super chat, Peter. You are literally just sitting in your second bedroom talking into a computer to the same effect Ben Franklin was just sitting in his living room in his underwear writing in his notebook at 2 a.m. So, Peter, that is probably one of the most flattering things that anyone has ever said to me. Thank you for that wonderful compliment. I'm just going to take a screenshot of that because I want to remember that. And everyone has to be, King Peter of the chat can say and do whatever he wants. He gets a pass. Nat D, Liz Cheney and Deb Philman look alike, kind of. Let's not bring, guys, we're going to have enough drama in this stream, I think, that we don't need to bring other internet drama and bullshit into it. We don't need to, we're all going to clear out all internet drama and internet bullshit. And we're just going to enjoy ourselves. Okay, I'm blessing everyone. Lord help us get through this hearing without ripping what is left of my hair out. I know we can do it. All right, let's get started. I'm just going to fast forward till we actually get to the beginning. We're watching C-SPAN today. Let me know if that volume sounds okay too. Hang on. Incognito, drink me up me hearty. Yo ho ho, LOL. Thank you, Incognito. It's so dramatic. This was so dramatic, right? Like the fact that they held these hearings in prime time in this grand room, and it's like, this is propaganda. We're about to watch, how long is this? Like 2 hours? 2 effing hours of pure propaganda is what we're about to watch. All right, hang on. I'm just going to fast forward to the beginning. No, it's still not there. Oh, here they come. Okay, here we go. Liz right in the center. Her final moment of glory before her ass gets kicked out of Congress. Well, MSNBC is comedy. That's what that is. It's comedy. It's entertainment. It's not real. We do have closed captions on. Okay. I mean, it's good beer. I'm not mad at the beer. I'm not mad at the beer at all. Oh!
The Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol will be in order. Without objection, the chair is authorized.
Guys, let me know how my volume sounds in relation to the
at any point.
The stream, please. That would be really helpful.
House Deposition Authority Regulation 10, the chair announces
the
committee's approval to release the deposition material presented during tonight's hearing. Thanks to everyone watching tonight for sharing part of your evening. To learn the facts and causes of the events
we are learning no facts
up to and including the violent attack on January
How many people in the
6,
chat were in DC on
2021.
January 6th? I'm just curious. If
Our
you were in DC on
democracy,
January 6th,
electoral
let us know
system,
if you
and
feel
country.
comfortable.
I'm Benny Thompson, chairman of the January 6, 2021 committee.
Okay.
I was born.
Hang on. The January 6th, 2021 committee. God damn it. These people are so fucking ridiculous. They're so ridiculous.
Raised and still live in Bolton, Mississippi, a town with a population of 521, which is midway between Jackson and Vicksburg, Mississippi, and the Mississippi River.
No one cares.
I'm from a part of the country where people justify the actions of slavery.
Oh my God,
Ku Klux Klan, and
racism!
lynching.
We
I'm
aren't even
reminded
5
of that
minutes
dark
into this
history
meeting and they're
as I
like,
hear voices today try and
racism!
justify the actions of the insurrectionists on January 6, 2021. Over the next few weeks, hopefully you will get to know
We're doing this live
the
next
other
time.
members,
Maybe.
my colleagues up here, and me.
I would
We
like to see
represent
Adam
diversity
Kinzinger
of
cry
communities
before
from
this
all
this
over the
series of
United
hearing is
States,
over.
rural
Every time we hear
areas and
racism, you have to
cities,
drink.
East Coast, West Coast, and the Heartland.
I mean, we're
All
going to
of
be
us have
civilized in
one
this
thing in
stream.
common. We swore the same oath. That same oath that all members of Congress take upon taking office and afterwards every 2 years if they are reelected. We swore an oath to defend the Constitution.
Pause. Live on air. Thank you, live on air. I've been missing you. I'll cancel mayonnaise if you don't cancel your fight, and that is huge for Dutch Foodie. I'm not going to cancel anything. I'm not going to cancel anything, Rosa. I love you, and just taking a little bit of break, a little mental health break, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the super chat. And Redwood says, these clowns try to compare January 6th to September 11th. Yes, they do. Yes, they. Oh my God! Now Brian is king of the chat as well. Brian, King Brian of the chat. We have King. You know what? In my chat, there can be. We don't need to have a single monarch. We can have multiple monarchs. Peter is king of the chat, and Brian is king of the chat. Anyone who gives $100 or more gets to say whatever they want in the chat. They can insult anyone. They can even insult me, and they're kings of the chat. That's just a rule that I just made up.
Constitution against all enemies.
Hail to the kings.
Foreign and domestic.
And thank you guys. I really do appreciate
the words
it.
of the current oath taken by all of us that nearly every United States government employee takes have their roots in the Civil War. Throughout our history, the United States has fought against foreign enemies to preserve our democracy, electoral system, and country.
Yes. My
When the
chat
United
is like
States
Narnia.
Capitol was
That's exactly
stormed
right,
and
Catalyst.
burned in 1814, foreign enemies were responsible. Afterward, in 1862, when American citizens had taken up arms against this country, Congress adopted a new oath to help make sure no person who had supported the rebellion could hold a position of public trust. Therefore, Congresspersons and United States federal government employees were required for the first time to swear an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies.
Sam says, what do we call a non-binary monarch? Oh, God.
That oath was put to
Oh,
test
God.
on January 6,
Sam?
2021. The police officers who held the line that day honored their oath.
Thank you,
Many
Brian.
came out
I
of that
greatly,
day
greatly appreciate it.
blooded and broken. They still bear those wounds, visible and invisible. They did their duty. They repelled the mob and ended the occupation of the Capitol. They
All right,
defended the
focus.
Constitution against domestic enemies so that Congress could return, uphold our own oath, and count your votes to ensure the transfer of power, just as we've done for hundreds of years. But unlike in 1814, it was domestic enemies of the Constitution who stormed the Capitol and occupied the Capitol, who sought to thwart the will of the people to stop the transfer of power. And so they did, so at the encouragement of the President of the United States.
Such
The
nonsense.
President of the
That
United
is
States
such nonsense.
trying
Trump
to
had
stop
no
the
fucking
transfer
idea
of
what he was
power.
doing. I'm
A
sorry.
precedent that had stood for 220 years, even as our democracy had faced its most difficult tests.
Oh my God. Joseph says, this is a waste of time and taxpayer money. What goes around comes around. Midterms aren't looking good for the Democrats. People are waking up to this crap. I really hope so again. And I think the Republicans are going to try their very best to snatch victory from the, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I don't think it's going to be the landslide people think it will. Now, that's not to say that the Democrats don't suck, but what people need to understand is people are going to be voting against Democrats, not for Republicans. And this Roe v. Wade thing, I'm telling you, is going to be a bigger wrench than people think. I genuinely hope I'm wrong. I just don't think I am.
Thinking back again to the Civil War in the summer of 1864.
Yep, Congress becoming a kangaroo court is bad news. Well, I mean, it kind of makes you question, has it always been like this? Is this any different than what it's always been? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
His opponent, General George McClellan, would wave the white flag when it came to preserving the Union. But even with that grim
But just somebody, we're
balance,
drinking. We're drinking. Just get a beer.
ready to accept
We're going to make fun of them. It's
voters,
going to be great. Thank you for the super chat, just somebody. I appreciate it.
He made a quiet pledge. He wrote down the words, "This morning, as for some days past, it seems exceedingly probable that this administration will not be reelected. Then it will be my duty to so cooperate with the president-elect. It will be my duty." Lincoln sealed that memo and asked his cabinet secretaries to sign it sight unseen.
Yes, of course, you can use Dr. Pepper or ginger ale. I prefer ginger ale to Dr. Pepper, but you're welcome to drink whatever makes you happy, Catalyst.
The will of the people, to uphold the rule of law.
It's a good idea, Mike.
To do what every president who
I should get some background music.
Did, and what every president who followed him would do, until Donald Trump. Donald Trump lost the presidential election in 2020.
Ooh, mango seltzer. That sounds great. I don't know about Ukrainian beer sounding great, but that mango seltzer sounds very good.
It was not because of voter fraud. Don't believe me?
No, I don't believe you. I don't believe you, Benny. I don't believe you about voter fraud. I don't believe you at all. If there was obviously no voter fraud, then why did the Democrats fight investigating voter fraud tooth and nail and refuse to actually look at any evidence of it at all? I'm just saying that we still have no clear answer about how the ever-loving hell Joe Biden got 81 million votes. I'm sorry, that didn't happen. There is no way in this lifetime Joe Biden got 81 million votes. I'm just saying.
Contains strong language.
No, just what I've been through. I had 3 discussions with the president that I can recall. One was on November 23rd, one was on December 1st, and one was
Bill
on
Barr is
December
such a
14th,
traitor.
And I've been through.
Does anyone else think Bill Barr is a traitor?
Sort of the give and take
fucking
of those
traitor.
And in that context,
establishment shill traitor.
I agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bullshit. And I didn't want to be a part of it, and that's one of the reasons that went into me deciding to leave when I did. I observed, I think it was on December 1st, that how can you can't live in a world where the incumbent administration stays in power based on its view, unsupported by specific evidence, that there was fraud in the election.
Bill Barr, on Election Day 2020, he was the Attorney General of the United States, the top law enforcement official in the country, telling the president exactly what he thought about claims of a stolen election. Donald Trump had his days in court to challenge the results. He was within his rights to seek those judgments. In the United States, law-abiding citizens have those tools for pursuing justice. He lost in the courts, just as he did at the ballot box. And in this country, that's the end of the line. But for Donald Trump, that was only the
And it was all the Republicans' fault. I'm going to say, you guys don't want to hear it. Well, some of you don't want to hear this. It was the Republicans' fault. The Republicans should have locked this shit up before the election even happened. They didn't. It is their fault that all this happened the way it did. I'm sorry. Robert says that's some serious priming. If there's any truth to any of this, it wouldn't be necessary. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. People are allowed to ask questions. Sin says courts refused to look at evidence before the election. After the election, they said it was too late. I think the Republicans could have done a lot more to challenge, especially in Pennsylvania, some of the laws before the election, but they didn't. Per usual, they didn't. They just sat back and waited, and they do nothing. Republicans are just as much to blame for this as anyone else. I'm sorry. Sam says, how should people protest election fraud? I mean, I don't think there's really much. I don't have any answers for right this second, to be honest. I kind of almost think it's like one of those things that that I think that I haven't seen 2000 Mules yet, but I know that a lot of people have. I think that might, and I've heard enough about it where I get the general gist. Make sure as many people watch it as possible. That's probably one of the best protests that that you could have. And we've actually I do want to have a movie night in my locals at some point to watch the movie together and talk about it. I haven't for reasons. Nathan says, I'm a conservative Christian and love your work, Karlyn. Thank you, Nathan. I very much appreciate that. And contrary to popular belief, I do actually appreciate conservatives and Christians. I just don't like whiny conservatives and Christians who try to proselytize to me when I ask them not to. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
beginning of what became a sprawling, multi-step conspiracy aimed at overturning the presidential election, aimed at throwing out the votes of millions of Americans, your votes, your voice in our democracy, and replacing the will of the American people with his will to remain in power after his term ended. Donald Trump was at the center of this conspiracy, and ultimately, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, spurred a mob of domestic enemies of the Constitution to march down the Capitol and subvert American democracy. Any legal jargon you hear about seditious
Thank you. I appreciate it.
obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiracy to defraud the United States boils down to this. January 6th was the culmination of an attempted coup. A brazen attempt, as one rioter put it shortly after January 6th, to overthrow the government. The violence was no accident. It represented Trump's last stand,
Oh
most desperate
my
chance to
God.
halt the transfer of power.
Okay, just for anyone who doesn't know, I know I've said this a million times to some of you. There was a permitted rally that was supposed to be at the Capitol that day. It was a permitted rally. That's why I was there. I had friends, well, former friends now, at least one former friend, that was speaking at the rally. So I went to the Capitol to go to the rally, and it was a permitted event. It wasn't a surprise that people went to the Capitol that day. I'm sorry. Nathaniel, another way you can try to help with integrity is to volunteer at your local elections. I'm going to try to do that this year in my state. Nathaniel, I think that's an awesome idea. I get involved on the local level. The local politics is where it's at, guys. I do local politics in New Hampshire with the Libertarians. Honestly, it is so much more gratifying and fulfilling and honestly productive than this national stuff. So that's what I encourage everyone to do. Get involved at your local level. It's going to be a lot more productive.
I hear those words and think, this is just another political attack on Donald Trump by people who don't like him. That's not the case. My colleagues and I all wanted an outside independent commission to investigate January 6th, similar to what we had after 9/11. But after first agreeing to the idea, Donald Trump's allies in Congress put a stop to it. Apparently, they don't want January 6th investigated at all. And in the last 17 months,
because it's a
many
waste
those
of
same
time
people
and
have
money.
tried to whitewash what happened on January 6th, to rewrite history, call it a tourist visit, label it legitimate political discourse. Donald Trump and his followers have adopted the words of the songwriter, "Do you believe me or your lying eyes.
Oh my
We
God.
can't sweep what
Well,
happened.
I was there on January 6th, so I believe exactly what I saw on January 6th. I just put a poll in the chat on YouTube. Will little Adam Kinzinger grace us with some and I just want to say hi to people watching on audio and also people watching necessarily pay attention to the chats on all of those because I can only pay attention to so many things at once, but I do appreciate you watching on all tech platforms.
Happened under the rug. The American people deserve answers. So I come before you.
Okay, I
this
want
evening,
answers.
not
I don't
as
want
a
to hear you talk
Democrat,
anymore. Get on
but
with it.
as an American who swore an oath to defend the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't protect just Democrats or just Republicans. It protects all of us, we the people. And this scheme was an attempt to undermine the will of the people. So tonight, and over the next few weeks, we're going to remind you of the reality of what
We are
happened
going to
that day.
shill
But our
propaganda
work
to try
must do
to
much more
influence
than
the
just look
election in
backwards.
November because we know we're
Because
about
of
to get
our
our
democracy
asses
remains in
handed to
danger,
us
the conspiracy to
gloriously.
thwart the will of the people is not over. There are those in this audience who thirst for power but have no love or respect for what makes America great: devotion to the Constitution, allegiance to the rule of law, our shared journey to build a more perfect union. January 6th and the lies that led to insurrection have put 2.5 centuries of constitutional democracy at risk. The world is watching what we do here. America has long been expected.
Well, it looks like
to be a
95%
shining
of you
city
think
on the
that
hill,
Adam Kinzinger will, in
beacon of
fact,
hope
cry
and freedom,
during these hearings. I think that
model
that's
for
probably a good bet.
others
That's a bet that I
when
would
we are
take.
at our best. How can we play that role when our house is in such disorder? We must confront the truth with candor, resolve, and determination. We need to show that we are worthy of the gifts that are
Wouldn't
the
it be something to
birthright
go back and
of
watch
every
those trials
American.
again? Maybe we should do that.
begins here.
Maybe
and
we
it
should.
begins
That'd be a
now
fun thing. I would
with a
watch
true
those trials
accounting
again.
of what happened and what led to the attack on our Constitution and our democracy. In this moment, when the dangers of our Constitution and our democracy loom large, nothing could be more important. Working alongside the public servants on this dais has been one of the greatest honors of my time in Congress. It's been a particular
Yes,
privilege.
we should drink anytime
count
they
as a
say
partner in
insurrection.
this
I should have
effort
made a drinking game.
to
I'm
count
sorry.
as a
I'll do better
friend.
next time. Next time I'll
The
have like a bingo
gentlewoman
card
from
or something.
Wyoming,
We'll do a whole
Liz
drinking game
Cheney.
next time.
She's a patriot,
Drink when they say
public servant of
democracy.
profound courage, of devotion to her oath and the Constitution.
And she's about to get her ass
It's
kicked
my
out of
pleasure
Congress.
to recognize Ms. Cheney for her opening statement.
Boo!
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And let me echo those
Shame,
words about the importance
Liz.
of bipartisanship and what a tremendous honor it is to work on this committee. Mr. Chairman, at 6:01 p.m. on January 6th, after he spent hours watching a violent mob besiege, attack, and invade our Capitol, Donald Trump tweeted, but he did not condemn the attack. Instead, he justified it. These are the things and events that happen, he said, when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who've been badly and unfairly treated for so long. As you will see in the hearings to come.
You know what? I'm just going to say it. That was a fucking boss tweet on behalf of Trump. I'm just going to say it. Listen, I got in so much trouble right after January 6th because like I went on like Ruben's show, I think, and I said that I actually thought it was pretty cool to finally see conservatives sticking up for themselves. Now, I don't condone violence or breaking shit or any of that, but like conservatives showing up and actually fucking doing something for once, I thought it was a beautiful sight to behold. I did. And I got in a fair bit of trouble for saying that. And then a year later went by and, you know, people are all of a sudden saying January 6th didn't go far enough. I'm sorry. That was a boss response on behalf of Trump that took a lot of courage to say it. given what we all experienced in 2020, I was not remotely surprised at what happened. It was a natural backlash. And you know what? I'm proud of Trump for not fucking bending the knee like every other conservative did. And I suspect we're going to see stuff in this hearing flat out showing like conservative shills from Fox News blatantly bending the knee and being like, no, 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 Democrats, don't hurt us. George says, Rep Liz Cheney. Oh my God. Liz Cheney. Good
Trump
one.
believed his supporters at the Capitol, and I quote, "We're doing what they should be doing." This is what he told his staff as they pleaded with him to call off the mob, to instruct his supporters to leave. Over a series.
Just so you guys know, there was no internet at the Capitol that day. Like I every once like my Twitter was dead. I accidentally tweeted things that like I tweeted them and then like the thing spun and I didn't think they ever went. And then all these tweets sent it once because internet at the Capitol that day was dead. And I tell you this because Trump could have been tweeting whatever he wanted and people wouldn't have seen it because there was no effing internet at the Capitol that day. I mean, in Washington, D.C. in general, there were just too many people.
Of hearings in the coming weeks, you will hear testimony, live and on video, from more than half a dozen former White House staff in the Trump administration, all of whom were in the West Wing of the White House on January 6th. You will hear testimony that, quote, "The president did not really want to put anything out, calling off the riot or asking his supporters to leave." You will hear that President Trump was yelling and, quote,
and by the way,
really
the cops weren't doing anything at the Capitol either. They were doing nothing.
He needed to be doing something more.
I have it on video of them standing there doing nothing. They were doing nothing.
To hang Mike Pence, the president responded with this sentiment, quote, "Maybe our supporters have the right idea. Mike Pence, quote, deserves it."
Oh, come on. That's not what he meant.
President Trump refused for hours to do what his staff, his family, and many of his other advisors begged him to do. Immediately instruct his supporters to stand down and evacuate the Capitol. Tonight, you will see never-before-seen footage of the brutal attack on our Capitol, an attack that unfolded while a few blocks away, President Trump sat watching television in the dining room next to the Oval Office. You will hear audio from the brave police officers battling for their lives and ours, fighting to defend our democracy against a violent mob Donald Trump refused to call off. Tonight and in the weeks to come.
Well, there were a million people there since, so I don't think there's anything hinky about it. Like stuff was getting out here and there, but just like I couldn't update my Twitter at all. I had no idea what was going on until I got back to the hotel later that day. No idea at all.
You will see their posts on social media. We will show you what they have said in federal
Yeah.
court. On this point, there is no room for debate.
We're only going to
Those
see
who
the never
invaded our
before
Capitol
we're only going to
battled
see the
law
never before
enforcement for
seen
hours
footage. Hang on, let me pause this so I can
motivated.
actually I want to listen to Liz. We're only going to see the never before seen footage that they want us to see. We are never going to see the never before seen footage that they don't want us to see. And let's just keep that in mind. Every single thing that we are seeing in this hearing has been hand selected by them to craft a narrative. That's all it is. It is story time. It is fantasy, what we are going to see here. Brian says Nikki Fried is pulling CCW from people that were at the Capitol. What does that mean? I don't know what that means, Brian.
By what President Trump had told them, that the election was stolen.
This is Liz's last stand. Liz Cheney's last stand.
Summoned the mob, assembled the mob.
Oh, conceal
and lit
carry.
the
Conceal
flame of
carry.
this
Thank you,
attack.
Nano. Conceal carry. Got it.
You will also hear about plots to commit seditious conspiracy on January 6th.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Crime defined in our laws as conspiring
Got it, Brian.
to
Thank you.
overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the government of the United States, or to oppose by force the authority thereof. Multiple members of two groups, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, have been charged with this crime for their involvement in the events leading up to
Guys,
and on
please
January
mount that like
6th.
button if you appreciate that we're
Some
trying to
have
make
pled
this
guilty.
bearable. Even if you don't like the
attack on our
content,
Capitol was not a spontaneous riot.
we're doing this. It's an
Intelligence
educational
available
experience
before
with
January
beer.
6th identified plans to, quote, invade the Capitol, occupy the Capitol, and take other steps to halt Congress's count of electoral votes that day. In our hearings to come, we will identify elements of those plans, and we will show specifically how a group of Proud Boys led a mob into the Capitol building on January 6th.
The Proud Boys, the evil
Tonight,
Proud
I'm
Boys.
going to describe for you some of what our committee has learned and highlight initial findings you will see this
I don't
month
think of
in
it
our
like that because,
hearings.
I don't need to get a permit or anything in
As
New
you
Hampshire.
hear this,
We have constitutional
all
carry, so I don't even
Americans
think of
should
it like
keep
that.
in mind this fact. On the morning of January 6th, President
I don't need to get a
Donald
permit to
Trump's
concealed
intention
carry, unlike in you
was to
hooligan
remain
states.
President of the United States, despite the lawful outcome of the 2020 election and in violation of his constitutional obligation to relinquish power. Over multiple months, Donald Trump oversaw and coordinated a sophisticated 7-part plan to overturn
A
the presidential
7-part
election
plan?
and prevent.
You think that Donald Trump formulated and oversaw a 7-part plan? Donald Trump could barely tweet coherently. And I say that with love. I miss Trump's tweets so much. You think Donald Trump formulated and implemented a 7-part fucking plan? Has anyone who has ever paid attention to Trump thinks that he is incapable of an in-depth plan? I don't. Sam says, so highly armed groups with no arms is by force. Yes, that's a really great point, Sam. Why didn't anyone have guns? These are the people who should probably have guns. Why didn't anyone have guns? Sabrits, it's good to see you. You don't need a deadly insurrection on January 6th. You just need the perception of it and then getting the masses to act out and that believe of it being real. That's exactly right, Sabrits. What they're doing in this hearing is they're creating the perception that there was a 7-part plan that was implemented by Donald Trump in order to steal the presidency. Like, that just didn't happen. That's not real, but that's what they want people to think. That's what they want people to think.
Prevent the transfer of presidential power. In our hearings, you will see evidence of each element of this plan.
Oh, sure, Liz.
In our second
I'm
hearing,
positive that that's
you will
true.
see that Donald Trump and his advisors knew that he had in fact lost the election. But despite this, President Trump engaged in a massive effort to spread false and fraudulent information to convince huge portions of the U.S. population that fraud had stolen the election from him. This was not true. Jason Miller was a senior Trump campaign spokesman. In this clip, Miller describes a call between the Trump campaign's internal data expert and President Trump a few days after the 2020 election.
I was in the Oval Office, and at some point in
Fucking
the
Jason Miller in a
conversation,
mask.
Matt Oskowski,
Why?
who is the lead data
Why is
person,
Jason Miller
was
wearing a
brought on,
mask?
And I remember he delivered to the president pretty blunt terms that he was going to lose.
And that was based, Mr. Miller, on
Thank you,
Matt and
Rosalind.
the data team's assessment of the sort of county by county, state by state results as reported.
Correct.
Wait. So you're telling me that your proof that there is no voter fraud is that they projected that Donald Trump was going to get less votes. Liz, that is not proof of no voter fraud. That is not proof at all. Because the claim that is being made, and I'm just explaining, YouTube, I don't want to fucking strike or anything. The claim that is being made is that the fraud occurred in the vote count. And so saying that the vote count indicated that there was no voter fraud is not even an accurate thing. That is not possible. That does not disprove a single thing.
Alex Cannon was one of President Trump's campaign lawyers. He previously worked for the Trump Organization. One of his responsibilities was to assess allegations of election fraud in November 2020. Here is one sample of his testimony discussing what he told White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows.
I remember a call with
All these people sold out,
Mr.
man.
Meadows, where
Sold
Mr. Meadows was
out.
asking me what I was
Sold out. All of them. Brian says they never say no voter fraud, only fraud that would sway the election. They do like playing with words, don't they, Brian?
finding and if I was finding anything. And I remember sharing with him that we weren't finding anything that would be sufficient to change the results in any of the key states.
That's not proof there's no
When was
voter
that
fraud either,
conversation?
Liz.
Probably in November.
That's not
mid-
proof
mid
of
to
no
late
voter
November. I think
fraud.
it was before my child was born.
It's just
And what
proof
was
you
Mr.
couldn't prove
Meadows'
it right
reaction
away.
to that information?
I believe the words he used were, so there's no there.
There's no there.
That's not proof of
The
no
Trump
voter
campaign's
fraud. It's just
general
proof you couldn't
counsel,
prove it.
Matt Morgan, gave similar testimony. He explained that all of the fraud allegations and the campaign's other election arguments taken together and viewed in the
Isn't this supposed to be a hearing to discuss what happened on January 6th? So why, in their first primetime hearing, are they opening it up by saying there was no voter fraud, there was no voter fraud, there was no voter fraud? I don't know what you mean. There was just no voter fraud. I don't know why anyone would think there's voter fraud. If this is a hearing to discover what happened on January 6th, then there would be no need to make the case at the very beginning of the hearing when it's airing in prime time that there was no voter fraud. I'm just saying.
best possible light for President Trump could still not change the outcome of the election.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know how to pronounce your
President
name, but I
Trump's
appreciate
Attorney
it.
General Bill Barr also told Donald Trump his election claims were wrong.
Repeatedly told the president in no uncertain terms that I did not see evidence of fraud and that would have affected the outcome of the election. And frankly, a year and a half later, I haven't seen anything to change my mind on that.
Attorney General Barr also told President Trump that his allegations about Dominion voting machines were groundless.
I do actually think that that's true. I don't actually think the voting machines are what did it.
I saw absolutely zero basis for the
I'm sorry. I never
allegations,
thought there was a crack
but
in
they
with the
were
voting
made in
machines.
such
I
a
never did.
sensational
There were
way
mistakes that were made,
that
and there were
they
there were
obviously were
machines that were
influencing a
messed
lot
up.
of
But I didn't
people,
think that that was the.
members of
I
the
didn't think that that
public,
was it.
that there was this systemic corruption in the system and that their votes didn't count and that these machines controlled by somebody else were actually determining
And frankly,
it,
I
which
thought that that was one of the
complete
stupidest
nonsense.
arguments that
And it was being
Republicans
laid
made
out there, and I
because
told
it was
them
just
that
so distracting.
that it was crazy stuff, and they were wasting their time on that. And it was doing a grave disservice to the country.
But President Trump persisted, repeating the false Dominion allegations in public at least a
What
dozen
does that have to do
more
with January
times,
6th, Liz?
even after his attorney general told him they were, quote, complete nonsense. And after Barr's resignation on December 23rd, the acting attorney general who replaced him, Jeff Rosen, and the acting deputy, Richard Donahue, told President Trump over and over again that the evidence did not support allegations he was making in public. Many of President Trump's White House staff also recognized that the evidence did not support the claims President Trump was making. This is the president's daughter commenting on Bill Barr's statement that the department found no fraud sufficient to overturn the election.
How did that affect your perspective about the election when Attorney General Barr made that statement?
It affected my perspective. I respect Attorney General Barr. So I accepted what he was saying.
As you will hear on Monday,
That's not actually
the
proof,
president had
Liz.
every
I'm
right to
sorry,
litigate his
that's not
campaign
proof.
claims, but he ultimately lost more than 60 cases in state and federal courts. The president's claims in the election cases were so frivolous and unsupported that the president's lead lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, not only lost the lawsuits, his license to practice law was suspended.
Oh,
Here's
Rudy
what the
Giuliani
court
was
said
fucking
of Mr.
incompetent.
Giuliani.
Incompetent.
Giuliani
That was one of the dumbest
communicated
moves Trump
demonstrably
made. Sorry.
false and misleading statements to courts, lawmakers, and the public at large in his capacity as lawyer for former President Donald J. Trump and the Trump campaign in connection with Trump's failed effort at re-election in 2020. As you will see in great detail in our hearings, President Trump ignored the rulings of our nation's courts. He ignored his own campaign leadership, his White House staff, many Republican state officials. He ignored the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security. President Trump invested millions of dollars of campaign funds purposely spreading false information, running ads he knew were false.
He's allowed to
and
do that.
convincing millions of Americans that the election was corrupt and that he was the true president.
You know what could have solved all of this? If anyone had listened to the concerns about fraud at all. If evidence was ever allowed to be presented, that could have literally solved this entire problem. But no, these people presented evidence from even being presented. They made an entire segment of the country feel like no one was listening to them, no one cared about them, and that is why all of this happened in the first place. Sam says, Rudy put away the mob. Somehow he is incompetent. Yes, I think that Rudy, in this case, Sam, was deeply incompetent. I'm sorry. This is not a comment on things that Rudy Giuliani did decades ago, but I absolutely do believe that Rudy Giuliani, in this case, was ragingly incompetent. And I would say the same thing of Sidney Powell. Those were two really, really, really bad hires for this particular job. It was just distracting.
As you will see, this misinformation campaign provoked the violence on January 6th. In our third hearing, you will see that President Trump corruptly planned to replace the Attorney General of the United States.
Yeah, I don't think
so the
Jenna
US
Ellis is all
Justice
that great either, to
Department
be
would
honest with you. I
spread
know.
his false stolen election claims. In the days before January 6th,
Trump's problem has
President
always been
Trump told
staffing.
his top
Trump
Justice
sucks at
Department
hiring.
officials,
He
quote,
really sucks.
just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. Senior Justice Department officials,
Sidney Powell,
men
Lynn
he
Wood,
had appointed, told him they could not do that because it was not true.
crazy.
So President Trump decided to replace them. He offered Jeff Clark, an environmental lawyer at the Justice Department, the job of acting Attorney General. President Trump wanted Mr. Clark to take a number of steps, including sending this letter to Georgia.
Sam, I
and
think
5
someone
other
can be
states,
competent
saying the
earlier
US
in their
Department of
career and then
Justice had,
incompetent
quote,
for the job at hand.
identified
I'm not saying he's
significant
incompetent at everything.
concerns
I'm saying
that
he
may
was
have
incompetent at
impacted
this.
the outcome of the election.
I mean,
This
we could disagree
letter
too.
is a
Like,
lie.
I appreciate you,
The
but
Department of
just
Justice had
disagree.
in fact repeatedly told President Trump exactly the opposite, that they had investigated his stolen election allegations and found no credible fraud that could impact the outcome of the
it's
election.
okay to disagree.
This letter and others like it would have urged multiple states to withdraw their official and lawful electoral votes for Biden. Acting Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue described Jeff Clark's letter this way, quote, this would be a grave step for the department to take and could have tremendous constitutional, political, and social ramifications.
Oh, yes, I
for
forgot you're
this
not allowed to
country.
disagree with me. You're in a cult.
The committee agrees with Mr. Donahue's
Everyone here is in
assessment.
my cult.
Had Clark assumed the role of Attorney General in the days before January 6th and issued these letters, the ramifications could indeed have been grave.
Yeah, that's yeast.
Mr. Donahue
Look at that yeast
also
in the bottom of
said
that
this
beer.
about Clark's plan.
And I recall toward the end saying, what you're
It's a good
proposing
beer.
is
It's very
nothing
light.
less than the United States Justice Department meddling in the outcome of a presidential election.
In our hearings, you will hear firsthand how the senior leadership of the Department of Justice threatened to resign, how the White House counsel threatened to resign, and how they confronted Donald Trump and Jeff Clark in the Oval Office. The men
They had like
involved,
3 weeks
including
left on the
Acting
job. Who
Attorney
really
General
cares?
Jeff Rosen and Acting Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue were appointed by President Trump.
If you only have 3 weeks left on the job, your resignation is not necessarily a threat. I'm sorry. Savret says the mask wearing is a placebo effect mentality for people with weak psyches, believing the effect of it to have a value or even be real at all. Idiotic. I mean, one of the things I've been thinking about, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way. Do you guys remember a time when you used to buy into this bullshit? Because I still do. I'm still I red pilled probably a little less than 3 years ago, I think. or I started red pilling about 3 years ago. And like, I remember a time when I totally would have bought into all of this and believed all of it. It is still relatively new. And it's like, it is mind boggling to me that, that people don't see through this, but I also understand it at the same time. Catalyst says, do you remember a subscriber named Ethan Oakley? He passed away yesterday at the age of 19 due to a car crash. Catalyst, I'm really, really sorry to hear that. I do remember Ethan. I'm sorry to hear that that happened. And when people I believe when people leave us, they go to a better place. They never really leave. We just change forms. And so I'm really sorry to hear that. And thank you for letting me know. And I hope that you're doing well. And I hope that you're able to find peace.
These men honored their oaths of office, they did their duty, and you will hear from them in our hearings. By contrast, Jeff Clark has invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and refused to testify. Representative Scott Perry, who is also involved in trying to get Clark
Everyone should
appointed
follow
as
Brian,
Attorney
the
General,
wise one.
has refused to testify here. As
You
will
should.
see,
Thank you, Brian.
Representative Perry contacted the White House in the weeks after January 6th to seek a presidential pardon. Multiple other Republican congressmen also sought presidential pardons for their roles in attempting to overturn the 2020 election.
Did they really? I
In our
didn't know
fourth
that.
hearing, we will focus on President Trump's efforts to pressure Vice President Mike Pence to refuse to count electoral votes on January 6th.
See, Sam?
Vice President
King Peter of the chat agrees with me. King Peter says Powell is a defamation attorney. Giuliani was a prosecutor. Neither was a constitutional lawyer. So yeah, in these lawsuits, they were literally incompetent. And that's what I'm saying. Like, just because I say someone's incompetent doesn't mean I think that they're incompetent at everything. It just means that they were incompetent at that particular task. Oh, that's right. She shares my name. That's how I know him. Oh my God. Well, have her, Catalyst, please tell her to send me. I remember this. Ethan emailed me. Please have her send me that song. And definitely like and let her know I'm really sorry about what happened. And I hope she finds peace. But I do remember that. I do.
President Pence has spoken publicly about this.
President Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election.
I never liked Mike Pence, for the record. I never liked him.
The American people alone. And frankly, there is no
I always
idea
thought he
more
was a
un-American
snake. Always.
than the notion that any one person
politician,
could
he's a
choose
shill.
the American president.
What President Trump demanded that Mike Pence do wasn't just wrong, it was illegal and it was unconstitutional. You will hear this in great detail.
And by the way,
from
just
the Vice
for, I
President's
feel the
former
need to say this just because we might have people watching that aren't familiar with me. I don't necessarily think that Pence should have overturned the election. I'm not arguing that. What I do think would have been good is for the objections to occur, the evidence to be presented, everyone got to have their side heard, and then we could have moved on with life. I never thought that Trump was going to reverse this result. I always thought Biden was going to be inaugurated. That to me was a done deal. And it was just because there wasn't time. And the Republicans behaved so incompetently that it was like, there's no possible way they're winning this. So I'm not arguing that Mike Pence should have overturned the election. I think what I wanted was for the evidence to be presented to at least give half of the country their day in court, which they had been denied up until that point. But Mike Pence is a horrible person and a shill, and I don't know why conservatives trusted him in the first place. He's a politician. He will do whatever it takes. He is not your friend. He was never your friend. He is an establishment shill.
General Counsel. Witnesses in these hearings will explain how the former vice president and his staff informed President Trump over and over again that what he was pressuring Mike Pence to do was illegal. As you will hear, President Trump engaged in a relentless effort to pressure Pence, both in private and in public. You will see the evidence of that pressure from multiple witnesses, live and on video. Vice President Pence demonstrated his loyalty to Donald Trump consistently over 4 years.
No.
But he knew that he had a higher duty to the United States Constitution. This is testimony from the Vice President's Chief of Staff.
So I think the vice president was proud of his 4 years of service, and he felt like much had been accomplished in those 4 years. And I think he was proud to have stood beside the president for all that had been done. But I think he ultimately knew that his fidelity to the Constitution was his first and foremost oath. And that's what he articulated publicly, and I think that that's what he felt.
His fidelity to the Constitution was more important than his fidelity to President Trump.
He
and
didn't
his
have
desire.
fidelity to President Trump.
Yes.
You'll also hear about a lawyer named John Eastman. Mr. Eastman was deeply involved in President Trump's plans. You'll hear from former Fourth Circuit federal judge Michael Ludig, a highly respected leading conservative judge. John Eastman clerked for Judge Ludig. Judge Ludig provided counsel to the vice president's team in the days before January 6th. The judge will explain how Eastman, quote, was wrong at every turn. And you will see the email exchanges between Eastman and the vice president's counsel as the violent attack on Congress was underway. Mr. Jacob said this to Mr. Eastman: "Thanks to your bullshit, we are under siege." You will also see evidence that John Eastman did not actually believe the legal position he was
That's
taking.
kind of fiery, actually. I like
In fact,
that.
a month before the 2020 election, Eastman took exactly the opposite view on the same legal issues. In the course of the Select Committee's work to obtain information from Mr. Eastman, we have had occasion to present evidence to a federal judge. The judge evaluated the facts, and he reached the conclusion that President Trump's efforts to pressure Vice President Pence to act illegally by refusing to count electoral votes likely violated 2 federal criminal statutes.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
And the judge also said this: if Dr. Eastman and President Trump's plan had worked, it would have permanently ended the peaceful transition of power, undermining American democracy and the Constitution.
Oh,
country does
hang
not
on,
commit to
hang on. So they found a judge in California that ruled against Trump? I am shocked by this revelation that a judge in California would make a ruling like this. Shocked and appalled. No one could have seen this coming at all.
Investigating and pursuing accountability for those responsible, the court fears January 6th will repeat itself. Every American should read what this federal judge has written. The same judge, Judge Carter, issued another decision on Tuesday night, just this week, indicating that John Eastman and other Trump lawyers knew that their legal arguments had no real chance of success in court, but they relied on those arguments anyway to try to, quote, overturn a Democratic election. And you will hear that while Congress was under attack on January 6th and the hours following the violence, the Trump legal team in the Willard Hotel War Room continued to work to halt the count of electoral votes. In our 5th hearing, you will see evidence that President Trump corruptly pressured state legislators and election officials to change election results. You will hear additional details about President Trump's call to Georgia officials, urging them to, quote, find 11,780 votes that did not exist, and his efforts to get states to rescind certified electoral slates without factual basis and contrary to law. You will hear new details about the Trump campaign and other Trump associates' efforts to instruct Republican officials in multiple states to create intentionally false electoral slates and transmit those slates to Congress, to the Vice President, and the National Archives, falsely certifying that Trump won states he actually lost. In our final 2 June hearings, you will hear how President Trump summoned a violent mob and directed them illegally to march
How are these
on the
hearings?
United States Capitol.
Hang on. He summoned a mob and instructed them? He said to go peacefully to the Capitol, Liz. That is a blatant effing lie. But how are these actually hearings? A hearing is supposed to be a balanced review of the facts. This is not a hearing. This is a play. This is a performance. This is entertainment. That is all this is. And we just need to keep reminding everyone of that. This is not a hearing. They already know everything that's going to be said. They have cherry-picked absolutely everything. This is theater.
While the violence was underway, President Trump failed to take immediate action to stop the violence and instruct his supporters to leave the Capitol. As we present these initial findings, keep 2 points in mind. First, our investigation is still ongoing, so what we make public here will not be the complete
Mount the
set of
like button if you
information
think
we
that
will
Liz Cheney is a
ultimately
dirty
disclose.
liar.
And second, the Department of Justice
Ella
is currently
Beverly.
working with cooperating witnesses and has disclosed to date only some of the
Yes,
information
it is a
has
clown
identified
show.
from encrypted
It
communications
is propaganda.
and other sources. On December 18th, 2020, a group including General Michael Flynn, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, and others visited the White House. They stayed late into the evening. We know that the group discussed a number of dramatic steps, including having the military seize voting machines and potentially run elections.
Yo, if Liz Cheney
You will
doesn't get
also
primary,
hear
hang
that
on, I'm going to say
President
this.
Trump
I'm going to say this without Liz talking. If Liz Cheney does not get primaried, which I do think will happen, I think Liz is going to lose her Congress. But if she doesn't get primaried, I'm sorry, the GOP is absolutely effing useless. And you all need to acknowledge that. If Liz Cheney is still in Congress after the November election, and the GOP is useless. And y'all need to start joining the Libertarians and come to the Libertarian Party. We just had a massive upheaval in the Libertarian Party where the Libertarian Party doesn't quite suck anymore. It's not woke anymore. And there's going to be a whole new dawn. So if you mark my words, if you guys keep supporting the Republicans, if Liz Cheney is reelected, I will have lost all hope for all of you.
With that group alone for a period of time before White House lawyers and other staff discovered the group was there and rushed to intervene. A little more than an hour after Ms. Powell, Mr. Giuliani, General Flynn, and the others finally left the White House, President Trump sent the tweet on the screen now, telling people to come to Washington on January 6th.
So what? He's allowed to have a
Be there,
rally.
he instructed them. Will be wild.
I made my ticket that day.
As you will see, this was a pivotal moment. This tweet initiated a chain of events.
Imagine if
The
you could
tweet
have
led to the
FaceTime with the
planning
nation.
for what occurred
Try
on
and
January
stop
6th, including by the Proud Boys, who ultimately led the invasion of the
The
Capitol
Proud
and the
Boys.
violence on that
Proud
day.
Boys, drink.
The
Drink
indictment of a
anytime they
group of
say Proud Boys are oath
alleges
keepers.
that they planned, quote, to oppose by force the authority of the government of the United States.
There's so much yeast in that.
And according to the
I've got a
Department
cup
of
here. I'm going to dump
Justice,
it out.
on January 6th, 2021, the defendants directed,
We're gonna get a new beer.
mobilized, and led members of the crowd onto the Capitol grounds and into
All right, let's talk about that in a second. I need a new beer. That first strawberry chocolate beer was delightful. But now I think we're gonna go with Blue Steel. We have to go with Blue Steel, don't we? We have to. Blue Steel it is because the can is so pretty. Look at those colors. All right. It's so hot in my office. We're gonna do the blueberry hard cider. Sin, we got a long way to go. Don't worry. We're gonna get to the hard cider. I might drink as many as all of these beers on this stream. I've already opened the Blue Steel. It's too late. Look how pretty that is. Oh, look how beautiful. See, isn't this the right one? Look how nice. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. It's purple. Let's see. And just as a reminder, this is a goose with blueberry and raspberry. Delightful. It is. All right, let's hear about January 6th. Finally, 40 minutes into this hearing, we've gotten to January 6th.
the Capitol, leading to the dismantling of metal barricades, the destruction of property, the breaching of the Capitol building, and the assaults on law enforcement. Although certain former Trump officials have argued that they did not anticipate violence on January 6th, the evidence suggests
Anyone who has ever been to a Trump rally knows that there's no violence.
The White House was receiving specific reports.
No violence.
in the
Conservatives
days
are the most
leading up to
passive people in the
January
world.
6th, including during President Trump's Ellipse rally, indicating that elements in the crowd were preparing for violence at the Capitol. And on the evening of January 5th, the president's close advisor, Steve Bannon, said this on his podcast.
The evil Steve Bannon.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. Just understand this. All hell is going to break loose tomorrow.
You know, Liz, I had a psychic on my channel on January 5th who predicted the exact same effing thing. I'm personally shocked that Joshua was not featured in the January 6th committee hearings predicting that there would be something major that happened on January 6th. That really happened. For those of you who are doubters in the psychic that I have on my channel every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m., the psychic literally predicted January 6th on January 5th. I'm just saying.
As part of our investigation, we will present information about what the White House and other intelligence agencies
Maybe
knew
Joshua should have gotten called to
and why the
testify in front of
Capitol was
Congress. I
not
bet he would
better
love that.
prepared. We will not lose sight of the fact
Joshua would be
that the
thrilled.
Capitol Police did
No, he
not
really wouldn't be.
cause the crowd to attack. And we will not blame the violence that day. Violence provoked by Donald Trump on the officers who bravely defended all of us.
Fran, words of wisdom.
In our final
I was
hearing,
like, don't say
we will
that.
hear a moment-by-moment account of
It's
the
all fun and
hours-long
games until
attack
Joshua gets
from
a
more than
subpoena from
half a
Congress.
dozen White House staff, both live in the hearing room and via videotape testimony.
I knew something was going to happen. That's why I
There's no
went
doubt
there.
that President
I wanted
Trump
to see what
was
happened
well
for
aware
myself.
of the violence as it developed. White House staff urged President Trump to intervene and call off the mob. Here is a document written while the attack was underway by a member of the White House staff advising what the president needed to say. Quote, anyone who entered the Capitol without proper authority should leave immediately.
That's
This is
actually
exactly
a really
what his
good
supporters
thing
on
to say.
Capitol
Yeah, I
Hill
agree with
and
that.
nationwide were urging the president
People shouldn't
to
have
do.
gone in the building. That was
Would
dumb.
not. You will hear that leaders on Capitol Hill begged the president for help, including Republican leader McCarthy, who was, quote,
We
scared,
haven't asked him, but maybe we
and
will this
called
week. Who
multiple
knows?
members of President Trump's family after he could not
It's a good idea,
persuade the
King
president
Peter of the
himself.
chat. We should do
Not
that.
only did President Trump refuse to tell the mob to leave the Capitol, he placed no call to any element of the United States government to instruct that the Capitol be defended. He did not call his Secretary of Defense on January 6th. He did.
Am I on glue, or do I remember that not Liz Cheney, Nancy Pelosi, fucking Nancy Pelosi, wasn't Nancy Pelosi asked if she wanted like Capitol Police reinforcements or like National Guard or something like that at the Capitol on January 6th? Because people are like, there's a lot of people coming to Washington, this might be a problem. And Nancy Pelosi was like, no, we don't need any reinforcements. Everything's going to be fine. I'm pretty sure I remember that. Yes, Just T confirms. Yes, Nancy Pelosi was asked that, and she said no. Sin confirms too. Yes. So why isn't Nancy Pelosi getting a hearing in front of Congress? I'm just saying.
Did not talk to his attorney general. He did not talk to the Department of Homeland Security. President Trump gave no order to deploy the National Guard that
What
day.
about the Speaker of
And
the
he
House?
made no effort
The
to work with the
co-equal
Department
branch of
Justice
government,
to
the third in
coordinate
line
and
to
and
dethrone.
deploy law enforcement assets. But Vice President Pence
Or the Oval Office,
did
as it
each
were.
of those things. For example, here is what General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, testified to this committee.
There were 2 or 3 calls with Vice President Pence. He was very animated, and he issued very explicit, very direct, unambiguous orders. There was no question about that. And he was, and I can get you the exact quotes, I guess, from some of our records somewhere, but he was very animated, very direct, very firm, and to Secretary Miller. Get the military down here, get the Guard down here, put down this situation, et cetera.
By contrast, here is General Milley's description of his conversation with President Trump's Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, on January 6th.
He said, we have to kill the narrative that the Vice President is making all the decisions. We need to establish the narrative that, that the President is still
He
in
is
charge,
such a woman.
that
I'm sorry, I don't mean to misgender him. I am more powerful than this guy. Why does he have 4-star general?
Politics, red flags for me.
This guy is a
personally, no
pansy.
action,
How did he get to be a
but I
4-star
remember
general?
distinctly.
Just by looking in his
And you
eyes,
will
his
hear
energy is
from
so feminine.
witnesses
His
how the
energy is
day played out
actually
inside the
feminine.
White House, how multiple White House staff resigned in disgust, and how President Trump would not ask his supporters to leave the Capitol. It was only after multiple hours of violence that President
I'm
Trump
glad they didn't
finally
resign.
released a video
Or I'm glad for
instructing the riotous mob
we
to leave.
know who the
And as
shills
he
are
did
by
so,
who resigned
he
in
said to them,
disgust.
quote, "We love you, and you're very special." You will also hear that in the immediate aftermath of January 6th, members of the president's family, White House staff, and others tried to step in to stabilize the situation, quote, to land the plane before the presidential transition on January 20th. You will hear about members of the Trump cabinet discussing the possibility of invoking the 25th Amendment and replacing the President of the United States. Multiple members of President Trump's own cabinet resigned immediately after January 6th. One member of the cabinet suggested that the remaining cabinet officers needed to take a more active role in running the White House and the administration. But most emblematic of those days is this exchange of texts between Sean Hannity,
Fucking
former
Sean
President
Hannity. Sean
Trump's
Hannity,
press secretary,
establishment
Kayleigh McEnany.
shill. No one should trust Sean
Hannity
Hannity
wrote
ever
in
again.
part,
Never
"He now,
again.
No more crazy people. No more stolen election talk. Yes, impeachment and 25th Amendment are real. Many people will quit." Ms. McEnany responded in part, "Love that. That's the playbook." The White House staff knew that President Trump was willing to entertain and use conspiracy theories to achieve his ends. They knew the
God, Sean Hannity is such a shill. Anyone who trusts Hannity gets exactly what they deserve. I'm sorry. Incognito says, pretty sure Mayor of DC declined extra security. I haven't had that much to eat today, so the fact that I'm already on my second beer is probably not the best thing in the world for being on the internet, but whatever, we'll do that. Yeah, I think that's true, Incognito. Yeah, Sean Hannity, so pro tip, anyone that wears a CIA or FBI pin on primetime television is an establishment shill. I agree, Patrice. I trust the Blaze over Fox too. I think the Blaze does actually a really, really, really good job. They do. Thank you, Rebecca, for becoming a new member on the channel. I appreciate it.
president needed to be cut off from all of those who had encouraged him. They knew that President Donald Trump was too dangerous to be left alone, at least until he left office on January 20th. These are important facts for Congress and the American people to understand fully. When a president fails to take the steps necessary to preserve our union, or worse, causes a constitutional crisis, we're at a moment of maximum danger for our republic. Some in the White House took responsible steps to try to prevent January 6th. Others egged the president on. Others, who could have acted, refused to do so. In this case, the White House counsel was so concerned about potentially lawless activity that he threatened to resign multiple times. That is exceedingly rare and exceedingly serious. It requires immediate attention.
He threatened to resign, but he didn't
especially
resign,
when
did
the
he,
entire
Liz?
team threatens to resign.
Oh, a threat
However,
to
in the Trump
resign.
White House,
Oh.
it was not exceedingly rare, and it was not treated seriously. This is a clip of Jared Kushner addressing multiple threats by White House counsel Pat Cipollone and his team of lawyers to resign in the weeks before January 6th.
Jared,
Apparently
are you aware
forever,
of,
Judy.
instances
Apparently
where,
forever.
Pat Cipollone threatened to resign?
I kind of, like I said, my interest at that time was on trying to get as many pardons done. And I know that, he was always, him and the team were always saying, oh, we're going to resign. We're not going to be here if this happens, if that happens. So I kind of took it up to just be whining, to be honest with you.
Ha ha! Base Jared Kushner.
Whining.
That's the most base thing that Jared
There's a
Kushner has ever
reason why
said.
people serving in our government take an oath to the
I just
Constitution.
my respect for
As our
Jared
founding
Kushner just
fathers
went up by a
recognized,
factor of
democracy
10.
is
I'll tell you
fragile.
that right now.
People in positions of public trust are duty-bound to defend it, to
That
step
was
forward
great.
when action is required.
That's
In
the
our
highlight
country,
of this
we
so
don't
far.
swear an oath to an individual or a political party. We take our oath to defend the United States Constitution. And that oath must mean something. Tonight, I say this to my Republican colleagues who are defending the indefensible. There will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain. Finally, I ask all of our
Fuck you,
fellow
Liz. You already got
Americans,
kicked out of
as
the
you
Republican
watch our
Party in
hearings over
Wyoming.
the coming weeks, please remember what's at stake. Remember the men and women who have fought and died so that we can live under the rule of law, not the rule of men. I ask you to think of the scene in our Capitol Rotunda on the night of January 6th. There, in a sacred space in our constitutional republic, the place where our presidents lie in state, watched over by statues of
That scene where the evil invaders of the Capitol walked between the velvet ropes, even as they were invading and disrupting an official meeting of Congress. They walked through the velvet ropes in the most what is it like the most heinous act that has been ever perpetrated. Old ladies walked through the velvet ropes, between the velvet ropes in the Capitol. I mean, my God. These people even hear themselves?
Washington and Jefferson, Lincoln and Grant, Eisenhower, Ford, and Reagan. Against every wall that night encircling the room, there were SWAT teams, men and women in tactical gear with long guns, deployed inside our Capitol building.
Why didn't the people
There
there
in the
have
rotunda,
guns if
these
they were
brave
trying
men
to
and women rested beneath
overthrow the
paintings
democracy?
depicting the earliest scenes of our republic, including one painted in 1824 depicting George Washington resigning his commission, voluntarily relinquishing power, handing control of the Continental Army back to Congress. With this noble act, Washington
Those
set the
grandmothers,
indispensable
man.
example of the peaceful
Heinous,
transfer
heinous
of power,
villains.
what President Reagan called nothing less than a miracle. The sacred obligation to defend this peaceful transfer of power has been honored by every American president, except one. As Americans, we all have a duty to ensure that what happened on January 6th never happens again, to set aside partisan battles, to stand together to perpetuate and preserve our great republic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
They so wanted Trump supporters to actually riot too. They really did.
As we provide answers to
hang on.
America.
Okay, finally Liz Cheney has shut the hell up. They wanted Trump supporters to riot, but what these people did not understand is that if you have ever been to any conservative event or any MAGA event, these are the least violent people in the world. Not one time on January 6th in DC was I afraid for my safety. Not one single moment was I afraid for my safety, even when I was around those evil Proud Boys. In fact, I actually felt more safe being around the Proud Boys because the Proud Boys were the ones beating the shit out of Antifa. And so, like, people who've never been to these events don't understand this, but I really think these people wanted Trump supporters to riot. These people were expecting Trump supporters to riot, and I think that they were deeply, deeply shocked when that didn't happen. Well, to a great, I mean, there were a couple, like, let's just be honest. There was that, but like not to any great extent. Listen, man, like there were at least 50,000 people on the Capitol lawn that day. And if they had wanted to tear apart that building, they absolutely could have torn apart that building. They didn't. They walked between the velvet ropes. Even I remember, so there was a brief moment where I had cell service that day. Like once I got up and like I was right next to the Capitol building, I had cell service and people started calling me and they're like, "Karlyn, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Nothing's going on." I was like totally trying to play it off. But I eventually called Victor and I got Victor on the phone. I was like, "Victor, you might be seeing some stuff on the news right now about January, about like what's going on at the Capitol. And I just want to let you know, like, I'm okay and everything's fine." And Victor apparently turned on the news and he was like, "Karlyn, what's even going on? They're walking through the velvet ropes. Like, this doesn't even look that bad." And I was like, I didn't know what was going on because I I was there. I wasn't watching on TV or anything. But it really wasn't as bad as people think it is. And I think they really thought it was going to be much worse than it was.
American people about January 6th. It's important that
Make sure, everyone, if I'm making this bearable to you, make sure you mount that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
To the Capitol. Most of the
cheers to the chat.
We are about to play.
Cheers, you guys. Good to see everyone again.
The Select Committee obtained it as a part of our investigation. This isn't easy to watch. I want to warn everyone.
Oh, everyone, hang on to your hats.
This video includes violence.
Oh no.
And strong language.
Strong language. We don't have strong language on my channel.
Video presentation of the violence of January 6th.
Let's see it.
Proud of your boy! Proud of your boy! Proud of your boy!
Yeah, just for awareness, be advised, there's probably about 300 Proud Boys. They're marching eastbound in this 400 block of kind of Independence, actually on the mall towards the United States Capitol.
Those don't look like Proud Boys, just so you know. So,
because everyone's just going to have
Proud Boys, and I'm not saying none of them were, but generally speaking, the Proud Boys that I saw at this and other events, they're wearing like black and gold, which are their colors. So when I see a group of people and I don't see any gold anywhere, I'm like, those aren't really Proud Boys. Sorry. They may be someone else. And I'm not saying like it's not impossible that they weren't Proud Boys, but Proud Boys wear black and gold.
to watch for themselves. But it's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Those don't look like Proud Boys to me. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm infallible. They're definitely a group of something, but they do not look like Proud Boys. Maybe Oath Keepers, but not Proud Boys. Oh, they were told not to wear colors that day? Is that what happened?
I hope Mike is going to do the
That's
right
entirely
thing.
possible. I don't know.
I hope so. Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify. And we become president, and you are the happiest people. Mike Pence is going to have to come through for us. And if he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength. And
So I want you guys to hear that sound. I just want to say, like, so I on January 6th, I was out in the crowd. I was not up in the ellipse because I don't actually like being up. Like, I like being with the people. I like doing my own thing. And so I was like way back by the Washington Monument in the crowd. You could not hear anything. You couldn't hear anything. I could literally hear, like, I was hearing like the sound system was so bad. And so I actually went back to my hotel to watch Trump's speech on the internet because I couldn't hear anything. And so I was like, F this, I'm not gonna, it was also really cold out. And I was like, F this, I'm not gonna like stand around where I can't hear anything. And I say this because I don't think most of the crowd actually heard Trump's speech. They may have like clapped, they may have pretended they heard, but I was walking around that that area for like, you know, probably an hour trying to find a good place where I could actually hear the sound and nothing. So that was my experience.
have to be strong.
Cruiser 50, it does look like we're going to have an ad hoc march stepping off here.
It's not ad hoc. What are you talking about? An ad hoc march? There was a scheduled, permitted rally at the Capitol. They had an effing permit. There was no surprise at all that people marched from the ellipse and from the Washington Monument to the Capitol. That was not ad hoc. There was a permitted rally.
Trump! We love 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 Trump!
Oh, they love Trump. Oh, no.
Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up.
Do you know why they're
for the
chanting?
good
Because they
of our
couldn't hear what Trump was
Constitution
saying.
And for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
Get back, ladies! Get back, ladies!
So this right here, what we're watching now was going on. I think someone correct me. What we're watching right now was going on at the same effing time that Trump was speaking. So to say that Trump told these people to do this is absolutely incorrect. This was going on at the same time he was on making his speech.
Priority. We just had protest. Key circle, breach the line. We need backup.
Oh, wow. This is actually fascinating to watch. Because, like, when I showed up at the Capitol, everyone was already there. Because I basically watched Trump's speech in my hotel, and I, like, had some lunch and, like, a snack. And then I walked what was it, like, whatever. I walked from my hotel, which was near the Ellipse, and I walked to the Capitol. And by the time I showed up at the Capitol, everyone was already there. And I showed up, I was like, holy shit, there's a big mass of people. So this is actually fascinating for me to watch.
Madam Speaker, the Vice President and the United States Senate.
This is such propaganda, just so you guys know. This is absolute propaganda, how they're editing this together.
We're going to give riot warnings as soon as the hour out is here. We're going to give riot warnings. We're going to try to get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
49 hours declaring it a riot.
How are they declaring that a riot?
Police one advisor
Wait, that's what they're declaring a riot? In the year of 2020, when the White House was literally sieged by Black Lives Matter. Do people remember this? I think it was in July or August of 2020. The White House was actually sieged by Black Lives Matter to the point where Trump had to go to the bunker. And this is what they're calling an effing riot? Please.
We should get to the Capitol.
Oh, look at those people calmly walking in with no one stopping them. They weren't even running. They were calmly walking in with no guns, no weapons, no fire bombs, no Molotov cocktail. Oh, yelling mean words. Oh no, they yelled. I don't condone this shit, just so you know. I don't condone this shit at all.
We have a breach of the Capitol. Breach of the Capitol from the upper level.
Be advised, they're requesting additional resources on the east side as they...
So at this point, they may have gotten in the building. And again, I don't condone that. But everyone outside had no effing idea what was going on. You couldn't even tell what was going on unless you were extremely close to the building. Even if you're coming up the stairs, you cannot tell. Like, by the time I got up the stairs, I didn't even know where the doors were because it was like there were so many people, you could not tell what was going on.
Broken into that window and they're trying to kick it in.
Without objection, the chair declares the House in recess pursuant to Clause 12B of Rule 1.
Look, they're so panicked.
Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country.
So as a reminder, no one at the Capitol had internet access, or very few people at the Capitol had internet access because the internet was not working. Twitter was not working at all. on the Capitol lawn. It was not working at all. And so probably a lot of people didn't even see this.
Our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. U.S. demands the truth.
That smoke, by the way, that smoke was from any white smoke you see is from tear gas that the Capitol Police were shooting into the crowd. I actually was like, so when I first got to the Capitol, I was seeing this, like, I had no idea what was going on. But like I was seeing this white smoke kind of in the distance, and people were saying, oh, they're firing tear gas into the crowd. And I was like, why would they be firing tear gas into the crowd? But then I got closer, and I actually, there was a guy, I was standing really close to where they were, and there was a dude in front of me that got knocked in the head with like one of those tear gas canisters, and he like fell to the ground. Like I fell to the ground too. I was covering up my face because I was trying to protect myself as much as possible. But anyway, that white smoke you see is tear gas. That's what that is. And that was by the Capitol Police, not by the people that were there. That was a stupid thing to chant. I'm sorry, that was dumb. That noose was dumb. That shouldn't have been done. Conservatives sometimes are their own worst enemy. Well, Polly, I've asked for volume level check several times, and this is the first time I'm hearing I'm too loud. So I will ask everyone else in the chat, how is the volume on my mic compared to this? And I can turn it down if need be. Let me know. If everyone else has complaints, I'll adjust the volume. If Polly is the only one with complaints, I won't just adjust the volume. Depends.
We can't hold this. We're gonna get too many fucking people. Look at this fucking vantage point.
People are saying the mic is good, Polly. Sorry. It's a reaction video. Andy says turn it down a smidge. All right, I'll turn it down a little tiny bit. A little bit. It's a reaction video. It should be louder.
House members, they're all walking over now through the tunnels.
All right, I've turned it down a smidge.
We're trying to hold the upper deck. We're trying to hold the upper deck now. We need to hold the
Is this volume better? Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it. Good to see you here, my friend. Epic beard. Can't please everyone. I do my best, guys.
We lost the line. We lost the line. All MPDs get back.
The video is as loud as it can be.
Get back up to the upper deck. All MPDs get back to the upper deck. ASAP.
They're chanting Nancy. That's actually funny. I'm sorry, that's funny.
Cruiser 50, be advised that Capitol Police is going to start moving their resources inside. They're going to start the M4.
Who opened the door? Who opened that door? That doesn't look like something just anyone can open. Who opened that door? Do you guys notice how the door's open and no one's stopping anyone from going in? Door's just opened.
Okay, H208 with 4 members. The door's barricaded. There's people flooded the hallways outside. We have no way out.
In fact, officers still remaining on the House floor, on the third floor, to use the subways themselves. It's time to evacuate so we can secure the members on the other side. Copy.
It's up to us people now, the American people. What are you ready to do? One more time.
Are you ready to do? And whatever it takes, I'll lay my life down if it takes. Absolutely.
All these are
That's why we
LARPers.
showed up today.
They're such LARPers. My God.
You back up.
I myself, I'm back.
Thank you, Patrice. Hang on, we gotta pause. Guys, mount that like button if you're enjoying this coverage so far. Savrit says the polarities are not good right now. Everyone is too stupid to detect propaganda or are a part of the final social cataclysm being the void of reason. Savrits, I think that everyone is part of a void of reason right now. I'll tell you that. Everyone on both sides, on all sides, everyone has lost their dang minds. Everyone. So I'm going to tell you guys, so the reason that I ended up getting so close to the building is because it was so packed that I literally couldn't go back. I tried to go back at one point. I was like, I wanted to get close to see what was going on, but like I tried to turn around and go back and the crowd was so packed in that the only way I had out was literally to go forward. So it was like extremely hard. You couldn't see what was going on and it was actually extremely hard to move around. And so again, like I just want to make that clear, like from the perspective of someone who was there, it's not like watching it on TV. It's a completely different thing. Like this is just a crowd of people. Jess is in the chat. Jess says the fact that they don't have more dramatic footage than this really tells you a lot. Let's just keep in mind that we are watching right now the most dramatic footage that they have. They are showing us the worst possible footage that they have. There is nothing worse than this. They're also not showing us a lot of footage that is going to present a different picture. They're showing us the very, very worst footage that we can possibly see, and they're going to twist it to mean the worst possible thing it can mean. I don't think they should have been beating up Capitol Police. I'm just sorry. Like, I don't. But look what they're doing. Look, what is the weapon that these people have? What is the weapon that they have? They have flagpoles. That is the most heinous weapon that these people have. And let's just keep that in mind. If this was really a coup in which Trump planned an elaborate 7-step strategy to overthrowing the government, why is the worst weapon they have flagpoles? Why is that the very worst thing that they have? There are no knives, there are no guns, there are no bricks. Flagpoles. Which, I mean, listen, man, if you get beaten in the head with a flagpole, it's going to hurt. I'm sorry, it is. But it's not a gun. It's not a knife. Yeah, planned coup. Okay. All right, sure.
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable. And I mentioned the word love, the love in the air.
Oh, and now they're playing. Look at this. They just played an interview that Trump did in July over top footage from January 6th. That is deceptive content. If that was on Twitter and Twitter actually regulated content the same for everyone, that would have gotten a deceptive content warning. That was deceptive. That was blatant propaganda. Wow, that was such propaganda. That's the worst
Pursuant
footage
to
they
the
have.
order of the committee of tonight.
That's it. Listen, again, I don't condone beating people in the head with flagpoles. I don't condone breaking into buildings. I don't condone breaking windows. I don't condone violence of any sort. But that's the very worst footage that you have? That's it? That's the smoking gun of this elaborate 7-point plan to overthrow the government? That's it? Savret says, LOL, such snakes. Yes, yes, they are, Savrets. Yes, they are.
The chair declares the committee in recess for a period of approximately 10 minutes.
10 minutes? What the hell? All right, we're going to fast forward. But guys, please mount that like button if you're enjoying this coverage. I appreciate it.
It contains.
No, don't care. Don't care. Oh, look, Adam shift. Don't care. Don't care.
Shortly.
Jamie Raskin looking very serious. Oh, gavel. Excellent. Okay, Alex is in the chat. Just your daily reminder, racism is wrong. As a reminder, Alex and I will be doing Sassy Saturday tomorrow at 6 p.m. I will be watching John Doyle videos for the very first time. The only time I've even seen John Doyle content is literally when I was in a debate with John Doyle on Elijah Schaefer's channel. That's the only time I've even talked or seen hell or high water of John Doyle. So Alex is forcing me, against my will, to watch and commentate on John Doyle talking about porn tomorrow at 6 p.m. I hope that you will join us for that. I'm sure that we're going to have lots of things to say. Let's just say that. It's going to be a fun stream.
The committee will be in order.
Bringing the sass back again.
I want to thank our witnesses for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Catalyst. Please send her love to me, or my love to her. There we go. Please send my love to her as well.
I know that some of the witnesses from our first hearing are in the room with us, along with some of the family members,
witnesses,
friends, and widows of the officers who lost
their lives
as a result of the attack.
No one died. Well, hang on. No police officers died on January 6th. Let's just be clear. There was one person who died on January 6th, and that was Ashley Babbitt. No police officers died as a result of January 6th. So therefore, there are no effing widows. That is blatant lies, blatant propaganda.
Thank you all for being here for us and the American people. Officer Karlyn Edwards has been with the United States Capitol Police since 2017. On January 6th, Officer Edwards was assigned to the First Responder Unit, which serves as the first line of defense at the Capitol complex. She also served as a member of the Civil Disturbance Unit, a special subset of the Uniform Division trained to respond to mass demonstration events. Officer Edwards is a graduate of the University of Georgia and currently is working on a master's degree in intelligence analysis from Johns Hopkins University. Nick Quisted is an acclaimed filmmaker whose credits include documenting stories from war zones in Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq. On January 6th, Mr. Quickstead was working on a documentary about, quote, why Americans are so divided when Americans have so much in common, end quote. During that day, Mr. Quickstead interviewed and documented movements of the people around the Capitol, including the first moments of the violence against
Why wasn't
Capitol
Elijah
Police
Schaefer called to testify in front of Congress?
ensued.
I feel like we were all gypped. I want to see Elijah Schaefer testifying in front of Congress. He was there too. George says they should see the state of, I don't know what that means. It's like Ecuador. After the president was chased off the presidential palace on a helicopter by a mob of people and had to hide until he could be safely removed from the country. Yes, George, I think they should see that footage. I agree with you. Absolutely.
I will now swear in our witnesses. The witnesses will please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Ecuador,
Let the
I was
record
right.
reflect the witnesses answered
Thank you, George.
in the affirmative. Without objection, the witness's statement will be included in the record. Pursuant to Section 5C8 of House Resolution 503, I recognize myself for questioning. As you saw just a few minutes ago, the Proud Boys instigated the first breach of the Capitol just before 1:00 p.m., where rioters pushed over barricades near the Peace Circle at the foot of the
Proud
Capitol.
Boys, otherwise known as
Our
feds.
two witnesses tonight were both
I'm not
there
saying many Proud Boys
at the
are feds. I'm
time
saying those
of
were
that
feds.
first
Those were
breach.
feds.
Officer
Sorry,
Edwards
they were
was
feds.
standing with other officers behind a line of bike racks that marked the perimeter of the Capitol grounds. She bravely tried to prevent an angry crowd from advancing on the Capitol. Unfortunately, she was overrun and knocked unconscious as the crowd advanced on the Capitol.
If she was knocked unconscious, then why the holy hell is she testifying? Could we not hear testimony from someone who was not knocked unconscious? I mean, does that seem a little weird to anyone else? That they're starting off her testimony saying she was unconscious and she's going to testify about being unconscious. Savret says the masses will be forced to protect themselves against the convert kill force hiding under the guise of philanthropy, yelling, "Get out of your homes," which will be the government or the slaves of consumption. Yes, I agree, Savrets. Yes, Savrets, I have a lot of podcasts I need to schedule, Savrets. As you know, I've been a little down lately, and so I promise we will absolutely do a podcast. Don't worry about it. We will at some point, I promise. You're on the list.
Mr. Quickstead was a few
she looks
yards
crazy.
away from Officer Edwards.
She has crazy energy.
Taking footage of the Proud Boys as part of his work on a documentary film. Most of his footage has never been shown publicly before we shared it this evening. Officer Edwards, I'd like to start by asking if you could tell us why you believe it's important for you to share your story this evening with the committee and the American public.
I want to know why Elijah Schaefer's not testifying. I want to hear from Elijah Schaefer. Oh.
Please, your microphone.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the committee for having me here to testify. I was called a lot of things on January 6, 2021 and the days thereafter. I was called Nancy Pelosi's dog, called incompetent, called a hero, and a villain. I was called a traitor to my country, my oath, and my Constitution.
You were unconscious.
In actuality, I was none of those things. I was an American, standing face to face with other Americans, asking myself how many times, many times, how we had gotten here. I had been called names before, but never had my patriotism or duty been called into question.
Oh my God, it must have been horrible.
I, who got up every day, no matter how early the hour or how late I got in the night before, to put on my uniform and to protect America's symbol of democracy.
She got her
I
feelings
have
hurt.
spent countless hours in the baking sun and freezing snow to make sure that America's elected officials were able to do their job. I, whose literal blood, sweat, and tears were shed that day defending the building that I spent countless holidays and weekends working in. I am the proud granddaughter of a Marine that fought in the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir in the Korean War.
That has
I
no
think
relevance.
of my papa often in these days, how he was so young and thrown into a battle he never saw coming.
No
and answered
relevance
the
at
call at
all.
a great personal cost. How he lived the rest of his days with bullets and shrapnel in his legs, but never once complained about his sacrifice. I would like to think that he would be proud of me, proud of his granddaughter that stood her ground that day and continued fighting, even though she was wounded, like he did many years ago. I am my grandfather's granddaughter, proud to put on a uniform and serve my country. They dared to question my honor. They dared to question my loyalty. And they dared to question my duty. I'm a proud American, and I will gladly sacrifice everything.
She's given us no
to make
actual
sure that the
information yet.
America my grandfather
Probably
defended
because
is
she
here
was
for many years to
unconscious.
come. Thank you.
That's it?
Officer Edwards, your story.
That's it. Hang on. She said no relevant information. Zero relevant information existed in that opening statement. This is theater.
And your service is important. And I thank you for being here tonight. Ms. Quickstead, I also like to ask you to introduce yourself. Can you tell us how you found yourself in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, 2021?
Good evening, Chair and Madam Vice Chair. Thank you for the introduction.
Fucking
As stated
Australian.
in the winter of 2020, I was working on a documentary. As part of that documentary, I filmed several rallies in Washington, D.C. on December the 11th and December the 12th. And I learned there would be a rally on the Mall on January 6th. So my three colleagues and I came down to document the rally. According to the permit of the event, there was going to be a rally at the Ellipse.
And
We
at the
arrived
Capitol.
the Mall
And at the
observed a large
Capitol.
contingent of Proud Boys marching towards the Capitol. We filmed them, and almost immediately I was separated from my colleagues. I documented the crowd turn from protesters to rioters to insurrectionists. I was surprised at the size of the group, the anger and the profanity. And for anyone who didn't understand,
I documented as the crowd turned from protest to riot to insurrection. That's not dramatic at all. Why the fuck is an Australian testifying at this hearing? Why isn't Elijah Schaffer testifying? I would be much more interested to hear from Elijah Schaffer than a goddamn Australian who's like, insurrection! Americans don't appreciate democracy!
and how violent that event was, I saw it, I documented it, and I experienced it. I heard incredibly aggressive chanting. and
Aggressive
subsequently shared that
chants?
footage with the
Oh
authorities.
no!
I'm here today
Not aggressive
pursuant to a House
chants!
subpoena. Thank you so much.
That's it?
Thank you, Mrs. Quested.
He heard aggressive chants. Did you all hear that? The great insurrectionists were chanting aggressive chants. God.
The Select Committee has conducted extensive investigative work to understand
That's
what
it?
led the Proud Boys and other rioters to the Capitol on January 6th. We've obtained substantial evidence showing that the president's December 19th tweet.
So he's basically testifying for them. George says, will he be credited as screenwriter, director, or producer? I mean, who really knows? Documentarian, probably. He's probably gonna win an Oscar for his documentarian of the his documenting of the mean chants. God. This is like such a libertarian thing. They're like, the lack of decorum! Decorum, please!
Calling his followers to Washington, D.C. on January 6th energized individuals from the Proud Boys and other extremist groups. I'd like to play a brief video highlighting some
Objection,
of this evidence.
objection speculative.
My name is
Peter.
Marcus Childress, and I'm an investigative counsel for the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol.
Wait.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would you like me to
white
condemn?
supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
After he made this comment, Enrique Tarrio, then chairman of the Proud
Does he look white to you? Does Enrique Tarrio look white? I have met Enrique Tarrio. He is not white. He is not white. How can he possibly be a white he is not white. Savrit says, the real truth is that eagle is meant to die and rise from the ashes into the new revolutionary regime. Its birth and death, just like those who everyone must bend their thoughts to revolve around. Savrit, you always have the best super chats. Except for Nat D. Nat D actually has the best super chats. But Savrit, you have the second best super chats. Yeah, he's not white. And yes, Diane, he is a Fed. Okay, he is. I offer that. I'm not the great defenders of the Proud Boys. I think the Proud Boys get a really bad rap as white supremacists because he's not fucking white.
Boys said on Parler, standing by, sir. During our investigation, we learned that this comment during the presidential debate actually led to an increase in membership from the Proud Boys.
Would you say that Proud Boys numbers increased after the stand back, stand by comment?
Exponentially. I'd say tripled probably, with the potential for a lot more eventually.
And did you ever sell any stand back and stand by merchandise?
One of the
Oh, they sold merchandise.
beat me to it, but I wish I would have made a stand back, stand by shirt.
On December 19th, President Trump tweeted about the January 6th rally and told attendees, be there, we'll be wild. Many of the witnesses that we interviewed were inspired by the president's call.
Okay, I'm going to admit, as soon as Trump tweeted that, I absolutely booked my flight and I absolutely booked my hotel room the second he tweeted that, because I was like, I want to be there. I don't know what's going to happen, but I want to see it for myself because I know the media is going to lie about what happens. So I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. I'm going to see it myself. I booked it like immediately because the prices shot up like the next day. I was like, I'm getting it now. So that is true. I will own that.
To D.C. for January 6th. But the extremists, they took it a step further. They viewed this tweet as a call to arms. A day later,
a call to arms
describes how the Proud Boys.
A call to arms. We have already established that the most heinous weapon that they showed us in the footage from January 6th was a flagpole. A call to arms? Does this guy even understand what arms means? There were no arms. There were no guns. There were only flagpoles. That was the most heinous weapon. It's a call to arms in which no arms were brought.
Created a chat called the Ministry of Self-Defense Leadership Chat. In this chat, the Proud Boys established a command structure in anticipation of coming back to DC on January 6th. The Department of Justice describes Mr. Tarrio coming into possession of a document called the 1776 Returns, which describes individuals occupying key buildings around the United States Capitol. The Oath Keepers are another group that the committee investigated.
You better get your ass to DC, folks, this Saturday.
Yeah, if you don't, there'll be no more republic. But we're not going to let that happen. It's not even an if. It's either President Trump is encouraged and bolstered, strengthened to do what he must do, or we wind up in a bloody fight. We all know that. The fight's coming.
The Oath Keepers began planning to block the peaceful transfer of power shortly after the November 3rd election. And according to the Department of Justice, Stuart Rhodes, the Oath Keepers
I don't know anything about the Oath
said
Keepers,
to his
so
followers
I have nothing to say about them.
This without a civil war. In response to the December 19th,
I completely believe that they said something stupid, though. I do.
The Oath Keepers focused on January 6th in Washington, D.C. In response to the tweet, one member, the president of the Florida chapter, put on social media, "The president called us to the Capitol. He wants us to make it wild." The goal was for the Oath Keepers to be called to duty so that they could keep the president in power, although President Trump had just lost the election. The committee learned that the Oath Keepers set up quick reaction forces outside of the city in Virginia where they stored arms. The goal of these quick
Why didn't they bring any of those arms to the Capitol then?
President Trump invoked the Insurrection Act.
Did the Oath Keepers ever provide weapons to members?
I'm going to decline to answer that if it's grounds and due process grounds.
In footage obtained by the committee, we learned that on the night of January 5th, Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes met in a parking garage in Washington, D.C.
There's mutual respect there. I think we're fighting the same fight, and I think that's what's important.
The committee learned that the Oath Keepers went into the Capitol through the east doors in 2 stack formations. The DOJ alleges that one of the stacks went into the Capitol looking for Speaker
Where were the guns,
Pelosi,
Jen?
although they never found her.
They were violent.
As
Where are
the
the
attack was
guns?
unfolding, Mr.
Where are the
Tarrio
guns?
took credit.
Don't come
In
into my
documents
chat and
obtained by
say
the
shit like
Department of
this.
Justice,
Where are the guns?
Mr. Tarrio said in an encrypted chat, "Make no mistake, and we did this." Later on that evening, Mr. Tarrio
Violent
even posted a
fucking
video
insurrection.
which seemed to resemble him in front of the Capitol with a black cape. And the title of the video was Premonition.
Wait,
The evidence developed.
he was wearing a cape and you take him seriously as an insurrectionist? Yes, Enrique Tarrio is a Fed. Truth. But like, I'm sorry, like, he is dressing up as Batman and you're taking him seriously as an insurrectionist when he's already a Fed? Sure.
By the Select Committee and the
You know
Department
who,
of Justice.
you know what villains I tend to take extraordinarily seriously? Someone who dresses like Batman in real life. That's who I tend to be the most afraid of. Someone who dresses like Batman, who has 0 guns, who is making an ominous video to put on social media. They are the biggest threat to our democracy. Batman is a threat to America.
Highlights how each group participated on the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. In fact, the investigation revealed that it was individuals associated with the Proud
Ooh, an
Boys
animation.
who instigated the initial breach at the Peace Circle at 12:53 p.m.
Feds.
Within 10 minutes,
Feds.
rioters had already filled the Lower West Plaza.
Filled. Completely
At
filled.
2 o'clock, rioters had reached the doors on the west and the east plazas. And by 2:13, rioters had actually
That's where
broken
I
through
was.
the
I was
Senate
right
main
there.
door and got into the
Hang on. This is where I was in this hang on, I don't know if in this area right here. That's where I was if you've ever seen my videos from January 6th. I didn't even know where the doors were, to be honest. I wouldn't have gone in the building because I'm not an idiot, but like that's where I was. And then I walked around to the outside.
A series of breaches followed. At 2:25 p.m., rioters breached the east side doors to the rotunda.
Yes, I was doing Fed activities that day, Alex. Yes.
And then right after 2:40 p.m., rioters breached the east side doors near the Ways and Means room. Once the rioters infiltrated the Capitol, they moved through the crypt, the rotunda, the hallways leading to the House chambers, and even inside the Senate chambers.
Individuals associated with 2 violent extremist groups have been charged with seditious conspiracy in connection with the January 6th attack. One is the Oath Keepers. They are a group of armed anti-government extremists. The other group is the Proud Boys. They promote white supremacist beliefs and have engaged
Their leader is in
violence
white.
with people they view as their political enemies. Members of both groups have already pled guilty to crimes associated with the January 6th attack. Mr. Quested, as part of the documentary you've been filming, you gained access to the Proud Boys and their leader, Enrique Tarrio.
Who's not white.
Your crew filmed them in Washington, D.C. on the evening of January 5th and then on January 6th.
Apparently wearing
on
a
January
cape.
5th, the night before the attack, you were with the head of
Yeah.
the Proud Boys.
Oath Keepers
Mr.
equal Feds.
Tarrio,
Proud Boys
in
equal not
Washington,
all white.
D.C. What happened?
We picked up Mr. Tarrio from
They
jail.
said mean words and
Been
shots.
arrested for carrying some magazines, some extra capacity magazines, and he took responsibility for the burning of the Black Lives Matter
He
flag.
burned a Black Lives Matter flag.
On December the 12th.
That makes him a white supremacist.
We were attempting to get an interview with Mr. Tarrio. We had no idea of any of the events that were going to subsequently happen. We drove him to pick up his bags from the property department of the police, which is just south of the mall. We picked up his bags and went to get some other bags from the Phoenix Hotel, where we encountered Mr. Stuart Rhodes from the Oath Keepers.
I kind of want pizza right now. I'm not going to lie.
I'd gone
Pizza
to
would be
park
pretty
the
great.
car, my colleague was saying, who'd got into the car with Mr. Tarrio, that
About
they had moved
half
to
hour left.
a location around the corner, the
Well, they
parking
had beer and a
garage
half.
of the Hall of Legends, I believe. And so we quickly drove over there. We drove down into the parking garage and filmed the scene of Mr. Tarrio and
What's
Mr.
everyone getting on their
Rhodes,
pizza? Better
and
not be
certain other
pineapple. That's
individuals,
terrorism.
in that garage. We then continued to follow Mr. Tarrio.
I'd go for margarita
There was some
pizza right
discussion
now.
about where he was going to
That'd be
go.
pretty great.
He ended up going towards a hotel in Baltimore, and we
I
conducted
could go
an
for a
interview
pizza with
him in
pepperoni
the
and
hotel
garlic.
room.
I could
And
even
then
go
we
for a pizza
returned
with
to DC
barbecue
for that
sauce
night,
and maybe some onions
in
and some
a,
sausage.
and what was interesting that night actually was that was the first indication that DC was much more busy than it had been any other time we'd been here, because we couldn't get into the hotels we wanted to, and we ended up at a hotel that, you know, was not as satisfactory as we would.
We ended up at an unsatisfactory hotel. Oh no, not that.
Thank you.
Not anything
So
but an unsatisfactory
what
hotel.
you're saying is you
What the fuck?
filmed the meeting between
Buffalo would
Mr.
be good,
Tarrio
yep.
and Oath
Mhm.
Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes, right?
White pizza is good.
You couldn't hear what was said, but according to the Justice Department indictment of Mr. Tarrio, a participant referenced the Capitol. Now, on the morning of
You know what my favorite pizza ever is? It's Pizza Hut, which I don't really like for anything except for this one pizza. It's Pizza Hut, like their traditional crust with their buffalo sauce. Their buffalo sauce is freakishly addictive. It's so good. It's sticky and it's spicy and it's got a little bit of sweetness to it. And so I get the buffalo sauce, I get extra buffalo sauce and then extra pepperoni and then a buffalo sauce drizzle on top and then a little extra buffalo sauce on the side. That's my favorite pizza ever. It's so freaking good. It's so good. It's so addictive. Anyway, put your favorite pizza in the chat. Give us some inspiration.
January 6th, you learned the Proud Boys would gather near the rally scheduled to take place near the White House. What time did you meet up with the Proud Boys, and what was happening when they met?
We met up with the Proud Boys somewhere around 10:30 a.m. and they were starting to walk down the mall easterly direction towards the Capitol.
Listen, hang on.
There was
We're going to be serious for a second. I cannot support putting pineapple on pizza. I'm sorry. I know some people like it. I can't support it. It's gross. It's really gross. I basically think pineapple on pizza is terrorism. Anyone who likes pineapple on pizza, you are on probation. You are suspect. Suspect at best.
a large contingent, more than I had expected. And I was confused to a certain extent why we were walking away from the president's speech, because that's what I felt we were there to cover.
So at 10:30
Wait,
a.m.
so you're confused about why
that's
you're
early
walking
in the
away
day.
from the president's speech? Like, then don't walk away. You're a documentarian. You could have stayed put.
That's even before President Trump had started speaking. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So how many Proud Boys would you estimate were marching together to the Capitol?
A couple of hundred, potentially. Yeah, I'd say a couple of hundred Proud Boys were marching towards the Capitol.
No, I don't buy that for one
At
second.
the time, was the area heavily guarded?
No, that was, I remember we walked we walked down the mall, we walked to the right of the reflecting pool, and then north along the road that leads to the Peace Circle. And as we were walking past the Peace Circle, I framed the Proud Boys to the right of my shot with the Capitol behind, and we see one sole police officer.
So many great pizza suggestions in the chat. It's making up for how shoddy this testimony is, where the most exciting thing we've heard about this testimony so far is he had a hotel that was unsatisfactory. Savret says, I have some real damn answers about this spiritual gravity of the world soul. This is a war of the spirit being created by the one world conspirators. I agree, Savrets.
At the barriers, which subsequently breached. We then walk up and past a tactical unit preparing, and you see that in the film where the
John Doyle can start the Prude Boys.
In their honor, and you see maybe a dozen Capitol Police putting on their riot gear.
So how would you describe the atmosphere at that time?
The atmosphere it seemed to be much darker. I make efforts to create familiarity between myself and my subjects to make them feel comfortable. And the atmosphere was much darker this day than had been in these other days. And there was also a contingent,
possibly because you filmed him as Batman at the Capitol,
from Arizona, who appeared to wear these orange hats and had orange armbands.
So when the Proud Boys went back down the hill to the Peace Circle, did a larger crowd start together?
Well, no. First of all, we went round to the back and down the steps, and we took some photographs on the east side of the Capitol, and then we went for lunch. We went for tacos.
So, Mr. Quester, you're a journalist, so you're careful to stick to things.
Wait. So he was so distressed about what happened on January 6th that after they left, they just went to lunch. They had an unsatisfactory hotel. They went to the Capitol, and some things happened at the Capitol, and then they went and had a bite to eat at lunch. I'm sorry. When I left the Capitol, I was like, what the hell just happened? And I went back to the hotel, and I did order a bunch of DoorDash. I'm going to be honest. I ordered some pasta. I even ordered some cookie dough. I had cookie dough dessert delivered to me because I just wanted to soothe myself and cope with what I had just experienced. But I need to go out for some light tapas, a light bite. Are you shitting me? He was so traumatized that they went for tapas.
But what you've told us is highly relevant. Let me highlight a few key facts that you and others have provided the committee. First, there was a large group of Proud Boys present at the Capitol.
They were so distressed that they had a bite to eat.
Sources, you now estimate that there were around 250 to 300 individuals that you've testified. They weren't there for President Trump's speech. We know this because they left that area to march toward the Capitol.
Tapas, tacos, whatever.
They walked around the Capitol that morning. I'm concerned this allowed them to see what defenses were in place and where weaknesses might be.
Oh no!
And they decided to launch their...
Oh no! Americans walked around the Capitol building? Oh no! They didn't want to hear Trump say the same thing for the 87th time? Oh no! They took a walk around the Capitol building and they saw what was going on? Oh my word! Insurrection!
Attack at the Peace Circle, which is the front door of the Capitol complex. It's the first security perimeter that those marching from the ellipse would have to come to as they move toward the Capitol.
I should get a knitting camp so you guys can see what I'm knitting.
Walkway was always where the thousands of angry Trump supporters would arrive after President Trump sent them
The thousands of
from the
angry Trump
lips.
supporters who were
Proud
sent
Boys
there
timed
by
their
Trump.
attack to the moments before the
They
start
were
of
sent
the
there by
joint
Trump to
session
attend a permitted
in the
rally.
Capitol, which is also where President Trump directed the angry mob, quote, "We fight like hell," end quote. He told them before sending them down Pennsylvania Avenue, right to where the Proud Boys gathered and where you were filming. Now, a central question is whether the attack on the Capitol was coordinated and
Are these people literally making the argument that Trump was coordinating with the Proud Boys? Dude, I cannot.
planned. What you witnessed is what a coordinated and planned effort would look like. It was the culmination of a months-long effort.
Trump
spearheaded
engaged in a conspiracy
President
with the
Trump.
white supremacist Proud Boys who were not led by a
Thank you
white
for
man at
your
that time.
Eyewitness account of the lead up to the breach of the peace circle.
Wait, that's it?
This brings us to a point in time where you and Officer Edwards were in close proximity.
I don't
At
have
this
enough
point,
beer for those.
I reserve the balance of my time pursuant to 5C, Section 8 of House Resolution 503. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Wyoming, Ms. Cheney, for questioning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Officer Edwards, I want to start by thanking you for your service and thank you for your courage. Thank you for being here this evening. I know that it's not easy to relive what happened for you and for the officers behind you and for the family members of the officers in the audience this evening. But it's really important for the country to have a full accounting.
She was
and understand what
unconscious. She
happened.
doesn't remember.
I want to start, Officer Edwards, with a short clip that shows the horrible moment when you were injured as the peace circle was breached.
I want to show when you were knocked unconscious. Okay, so she's unconscious. Okay, got it. Don't condone it, but she doesn't remember what happened.
Officer Edwards, can you describe the crowd that had
No.
assembled at the peace circle as you and your fellow officers
Feds.
stood behind and guarded the bike racks at the peace circle?
That's a description. Feds.
Yes, so there were about, I want to say about 5 of us on that line. And there was our bike rack, and then at the bottom of the Pennsylvania
She's like the
Avenue
Amber
walkway,
Heard
right
of
by
like
Peace
Capitol
Circle,
Police officers.
there was another bike
That's how I
rack.
feel about her
And
acting.
so the crowd had kind of gathered there. It was the crowd led by Joseph Biggs, and they were mostly in civilian clothes. There were some who had military fatigues.
You're telling me that she identified who was leading the crowd. How did she know? You're telling me she actually knew who was leading this crowd? I don't believe it for one single second that she knew that. Don't believe it. Sorry. No.
We could see people with bulletproof vests on, things like that. They didn't seem,
They were wearing bulletproof
extremely
vests, but they had
cohesive,
no
but
guns.
They had gathered there in their outfits.
No guns.
But they had gathered there together, and Joseph Biggs started. He had a megaphone, and he started talking about. First it was things kind of.
How did you know his
relating
name?
To Congress.
Unconscious
And
Capitol Police
then
officer. How did you know his name?
Tables started turning once the what is now the Arizona group is what you said. The crowd with orange hats, they came up chanting F-U-C-K Antifa.
Good.
And they joined that.
Do you have
group.
video of that?
And
I want
once they
proof. I want
joined that
receipts.
group, Joseph Biggs' rhetoric turned to the Capitol Police. He started asking us questions like, you didn't miss a paycheck during the pandemic. Mentioning stuff about our pay scale was mentioned.
Actually, fair point.
And
oh no, they mentioned our pay.
Started turning the tables on us.
My word.
And
how offensive.
I've worked, I can, conservatively say probably hundreds of civil disturbance events. I know when I'm being turned into a villain, and that's when I turned to my sergeant and I stated the understatement of the century. I said, Sarge, I think we're gonna need a few more people down here.
Okay.
And so after
I literally have multiple videos of the Capitol Police standing around and doing nothing. Multiple videos in which they did nothing and they were not bothered by anyone. I'm just saying.
That, I think they started conferring. They went a little silent. They started conferring among each other. I saw the person now identified as Ryan Samsel. He put his arm around Joseph Biggs and they were talking, and then they started approaching the first barricade. They ripped the first barricade down and they approached our bike
You were
racks.
unconscious. Hang on. You were unconscious. How do you know what happened after they ripped the barricade down? You were unconscious.
At that time, we started holding on, grabbing the bike racks. There weren't many of us, so
there
I
was a different
grabbed,
barricade. All right,
the
I
middle
take it back.
between two
I'm gonna be
different
fair.
bike racks. And, I wasn't under any pretense that I could hold it for very long, but I just wanted to, make sure that we could get more people down and get our CDU units time to answer the call. So we started grappling over the bike racks. I felt the bike rack come on top of my head and I was pushed backwards and my foot caught the stair behind me and my chin hit the handrail, and then at that point I had blacked out, but the back of my head clipped the concrete stairs behind me.
And you were knocked unconscious, is that right, Officer Edwards?
Yes, ma'am.
But then when you regained consciousness,
How
even
long?
with the injuries, you returned to duty. Is that
How
right?
long?
Yes, ma'am. At that time, adrenaline kicked in. I ran towards the West Front and
How
I tried
long were
to
you
hold
unconscious?
the line at the Senate steps at the Lower West Terrace. More people kept coming at us. It just seemed like, more and more people started, coming onto the West Front. They started overpowering us. And that was right about when MPD's officers showed up. Their bike officers pushed the crowd back and allowed our CDU units as well as theirs to form that line that you see, that very thin line between us and.
Let's see. If the supposed red tsunami happens in November, will there be a counter January 6th committee investigating this committee's investigation? God, I hope so. To be honest, if I think the Republicans are going to win the House in November. I don't know if they're going to win the Senate. I think they'll win the House. I think they'll eke it out by a smidge. I don't think it's going to be a wave, but I think they'll win something. If they don't have hearings, if they don't have hearings, Republicans are useless. If Republicans don't oust Liz Cheney and, well, Adam Kinzinger's got redistricted out, but if Republicans don't oust Liz Cheney and then have hearings, at least in the House when they get elected, they are useless. If Republicans do not impeach Joe Biden for what happened in Afghanistan, they are useless. Stop voting for these people.
and the protesters or the rioters, you know, at that time. I fell behind that line, and for a while, I started decontaminating people who had gotten sprayed and
Sprayed by Capitol
treating
Police.
people medically
By
who
Capitol
needed it.
Police.
And then you were injured again there on the West Terrace. Is that right, Officer Edwards?
Yes, ma'am. So after a while, I got back on the line. It was on the house side of the Lower West Terrace. And I was holding that line for a while. There weren't many of us over there. And Officer Sicknick was behind me for most of the time, for about 30 to 45 minutes that I was down there. We were just, as the best we could, we were just, you know, grappling over bike racks and trying to hold them.
Yo, I don't need to start a new political party. We literally just took over the Libertarian Party. It just got taken over. For those who don't know, the Libertarian Party is no longer woke. Every single person in a position of power that was woke in the Libertarian Party that ruined it for years have now been ousted. We just took it over a couple weeks ago. So I don't need to start no new political party. I'm cool, man. I got the Libertarians. Savret says, a short moment on that stage for an opportunity to illuminate the profane to what this social catechism is all about. And it's all only possible from manipulating our perceptions and using true magic. I agree, Savrats. And people need to keep this in mind. The point that Savrats is making over and over again is that our perceptions dictate our reality. These people are actively trying to manipulate our perceptions.
All of a sudden, I see movement to the left of me.
Yes, for real. No more woke.
And
Gone.
I turned,
Done.
and
I'm going to do a stream about it at some
Sicknick
point.
with his head
But
in his hands.
it's over. They're all gone.
And he was
They're all resigning the
ghostly
party.
pale.
They're all quitting. It's amazing.
Which I figured at that point that he had been sprayed, and I was concerned. My cop alarm bells went off, because if you get sprayed with pepper spray, you're going to turn red. He turned just about as pale as this sheet of paper. And so I looked back to see what had hit him, what had happened, and that's when I got sprayed in the eyes as well. I was taken to be decontaminated by another officer.
So she was
but we didn't
unconscious
get
and
the
then she got
chance
sprayed with something in the
because
eyes.
We were then tear gassed.
So basically this is, oh, so you got tear gassed by your own people.
And
Congratulations.
We are going to play just
You got tear gassed by
brief clip
your own
of
effing
that
people.
moment that you've just described, Officer Edwards.
Yeah, Gene can, hang on. Gene can corroborate because Gene was there. Gene, tell these people that the Libertarian Party is completely new. We are no longer woke. But yeah, the only people that were doing tear gas were the Capitol Police. So if she got gassed, it was the Capitol Police that did it. I'm sorry. We're hearing a sob story from a woman that's like, I got knocked unconscious and then I got tear gassed. So she doesn't even know she is providing no substantive testimony about what actually happened. What did we just watch?
Officer Edwards, I just want to thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And I know
Gene
again,
says
how
the
difficult
LP
it
is
I
under
know,
new management.
The family of Officer Sicknick as well, who's here tonight. One of the things one of the Capitol Police officers said to me recently was to ask me whether or not, as members of Congress, all of us understood that on that day, on January 6th, when we were evacuated from the chamber, were led
Liz
to
Cheney
a safe,
actually
undisclosed location, whether we knew that so many of you had rushed out of the building and into the fight. And I can assure you that we do know that, and that we understand how important your service is.
Okay.
Thank you for your.
This doesn't have anything to do with the stream. This is almost done, but I just want to say, Jean says, I'm the happiest in the LP since I joined in 1988. I cannot even imagine what it must feel like for long-term Libertarian Party members to finally, I mean, it wasn't woke for a while, and then it got really effing woke. And now it's not woke anymore. It is a new dawn. It is a new day. And I really strongly encourage everyone to look into it. Tim Cast, for all my criticisms of Tim Pool, Tim Cast actually did an excellent article about the Libertarian National Convention. Everyone should look it up. Don't read that Reason stuff. Reason is biased. We don't like Reason anymore. But Tim Cast did a fantastic write-up on what happened. It was amazing. And I'm going to talk about it another day. What even happens to all the collected super chat money? It funds the channel, Savrits. That's what happens to it. It funds the channel. It funds my work. That's what happens to it. And I greatly appreciate all the super chat money. It goes to pay for things like mortgage and food and design programs for thumbnails and streaming programs and all the things that I do to keep this ship running. So I do greatly appreciate it.
Continued.
Happy birthday, Savrits.
Interviews, and thank you very much for both of you for being here this evening. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you very much. Ms. Edwards, can you give us one memory of that awful day that
no, because she was unconscious.
most vividly in your mind?
I can.
Unconscious people don't have memories.
That time when I talked about falling behind MPD's line, I remember because I had been kind of shielded away because I was holding those stairs. So I wasn't able to really see what was going on over here. When I fell behind that line,
Deborah, thank you for the super sticker. I greatly appreciate it.
I saw, I can just remember my breath catching in my throat because what I saw was just a war scene. It was something like I'd seen out of the movies.
What?
I couldn't believe.
It was a war scene with no guns. Has anyone recently seen a war scene in which there were 0 guns involved? It was a war scene? Dude.
My eyes. There were officers on the ground. You know.
There were officers on the ground? What are you talking about? I don't know. No. She is literally making this up. There was no war scene. There were no officers on the ground. I'm sorry. This is complete and total bullshit. I want video. I want receipts. I want receipts showing officers on the ground just tragically. No, that didn't happen. Sorry.
Bleeding. They were throwing up. They were, you know, they had.
Now, I did see someone on the ground. I saw the guy who got beamed with the tear gas canister in the head, literally right in front of me, falling on the ground and then bleeding out of his head. I did see that. I didn't see any officers on the ground, though. That's bullshit. Sorry.
I mean, I saw friends with blood all over their faces.
Bull
I was slipping
shit.
in people's blood.
Bullshit. You were wait, what? No. Okay, you're telling me that there were pools of blood so big on the Capitol grounds that she was just slipping on people's blood. She couldn't even walk. She was just slipping on people's blood. You're telling me that that's real and there are no pictures of it and there's no video? You're telling me that no one who was in DC on January 6th got pictures of these massive pools of blood with officers just laying on the ground, bleeding out of their heads, and there's no evidence at all that this actually occurred? Sure. That's definitely believable. Absolutely.
I was catching people as they fell. It was carnage. It was chaos.
Oh my God.
I can't even describe.
Because
what
you're
I
making
saw.
this up.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think that as a police officer, as a law enforcement officer, I would find myself in the middle.
She is literally making this up. Savrit says it's all a placebo narrative being falsely created. Yes, that is Savrit's truer words have never been spoken. She is literally fabricating this entire thing. I saw no pool. I walked all around that Capitol. I saw no dead bodies on the ground. I saw no blood and guts. I saw no pools of blood. I saw no one that was like, couldn't even walk because the blood was just 8 inches deep. She's a fucking liar, man. Robert, these people feel like they're a different species describing something that happened on another planet. Yes. This is fantasy. She has literally concocted, and I you know what? I don't know if she believes that this is true or not, but like, this story is not real. This is not real at all. Incognito, I fought in wars and lost friends. This is insult. Yes. There were no knives. There were no guns, but pools of blood everywhere and absolute carnage. My God.
Middle of a battle. I'm trained to detain, a couple of subjects and handle a crowd, but I'm not combat trained. And that day, it was just
what combat?
Hours of hand-to-hand combat.
What?
Hours of dealing with things.
There were hours of a hand-to-hand combat? This is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard in my life. There were hours of a hand-to-hand combat. Are you kidding me? Where's the video of the hours of hand-to-hand? Because we know there are no guns and no knives. No, the most serious weapon was a flagpole. Hours of a hand-to-hand combat? Yeah, Patrice. Swords, or it didn't happen. Pistols at dawn. What the hell?
That were way beyond
God, this is basically MSNBC right now.
Ever trained for. And I just remember that moment of stepping behind the line and just seeing the absolute war zone that the West Front had become.
Oh my God.
Let me thank you for your service and obviously your bravery.
Yes, Sam. Pools of blood from police beating people. Well, I'm not even saying the police were beating everyone. The police, again, I have videos of this. The police were standing around doing nothing. They were standing around doing nothing, and they would march from one location to another every now and again, but they were not doing anything. They shot tear gas at people. That was it. Wow. I cannot. It's as real as the placebo mass, racism, and guilt. Yeah, that's right, Savras. What she's saying is as real as everyone in the country is a racist. Exactly.
That you have told the world about tonight. It's unfortunate.
We're almost done. We're almost done. We're wrapping up.
Capital from fellow Americans.
Look, she's gonna cry.
This
is so traumatizing.
Think that would have to happen.
I can't believe there was hand-to-hand combat at the
Capitol.
Capitol.
Let me thank our witnesses for joining us.
And there is no video that we have to have these expert witnesses.
Throughout my chairmanship of this committee,
wow,
I've continuously vowed that this committee will ensure a comprehensive account of the heroic acts on January 6th.
No video.
And that we will follow the facts wherever they.
No evidence. No videos of these massive pools of blood. Incognito, she described a weekend in Chicago. No, I didn't think she described that incognito. I disagree. What she described is much more serious than a weekend in Chicago, and that's pretty bad. My God.
Your testimony is an essential part of that record and helps us do our job. Mr. Quested, thank you for sharing your footage and your account of the day's events with us. The images you recorded and have shared with the committee do a better job than any of our words in reinforcing.
They were wading through pools of blood as they walked between the velvet ropes inside the Capitol in an orderly fashion. When they didn't overturn statues or tear down paintings at all inside the Capitol, it was because they were wading through these massive pools of blood with their weapons held high behind. Are you shitting me? My God. 10 minutes left, guys. 10 minutes left.
We hope that the power of your footage helped encourage all Americans to consider how citizens with so much in common could viciously brawl at the seat of their democratic government. Officer Edwards, thank you for your brave service, as I indicated, on January 6th, and all you did to protect us, and most importantly, our democracy. If you and your fellow officers hadn't held the line against those violent insurrectionists, we can only imagine the disaster that would have ensued. Your heroism is the face of danger is admirable, and your will to continue to protect and serve despite your serious injuries should be an inspiration to all of us. We wish you continued recovery.
I genuinely movie right now. Does anyone feel like they're watching a fictional movie? That this can't be real?
Members of the Select Committee may have additional questions for tonight's witnesses, and we ask that you respond expeditiously in writing to those questions. Without objections, members will be permitted 10 business days to submit statements for the record, including opening remarks and additional questions for the witnesses. The witnesses have just told us what they heard the rioters saying while they stormed the Capitol on that day. Now we're going to hear it from the rioters themselves.
Oh, are we?
Without objection, I include in the record a video presentation.
What really made me want
Where
to
are the
come
pools of
was the
blood?
fact that, you know, I had supported Trump all that time. I did believe, you know, that the election was being stolen. And Trump asked us to come.
He personally asked for us to come to DC that day. And I thought,
I want pools of blood. I want to see carnage. Jennifer says all the carnage, and they only got one witness who was knocked out and promptly sprayed with tear gas by her fellow officers. With the other, Jennifer, I think this is a very good question. One of the star witnesses of tonight got knocked unconscious and then was sprayed with tear gas and has false memories of pools of blood and carnage that didn't happen and that there's no evidence of. Wow.
If this is the only thing he's going to ask of me, I'll do it.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Did you recall President Trump mentioning going to the Capitol during his speech?
To go to a permanent rally.
So that's one of my disappointments. He said he was going to go with us.
Permitted
He's going to be there.
rally.
I was there, and that's because he called me there, and he laid out what is happening in our government. He laid it out.
But I remember Donald Trump telling people to be there, right? I mean, to support.
So you mentioned that the president asked you. Do you remember a specific message?
Basically, yeah, he asked for us to come to DC, that big things are gonna happen.
What got me interested, he said, I have something very important to say on January 6th or something like that. Is what
Trump is allowed to have a rally. I don't know who needs to hear this. Trump is allowed to have a rally.
He asked me for my vote, and he asked me to come on January 6th.
Oh.
When the committee reconvenes next week, we're going to examine the lies that
We're watching it
convinced
live
those
next time.
men
Everyone's got to get up
and
early.
others to storm the Capitol.
Actually, I don't know. I don't know if I can do
try
this
to
without
stop
beer.
the
Maybe I'll have to
transfer
stop. I'll
of
have
power.
mimosas.
We're going to take a close look at the first part of Trump's attack on the rule of law.
I want the yes.
When he
I want
hit
this
the fuse
7-step
that
plan.
ultimately
What is Trump's
resulted
7-step plan?
in the violence of January 6th. Without objection, and with that, the committee stands adjourned.
That's it. That's it. Well, wasn't that something? Wasn't that special? What went on in that hearing has absolutely no relation to what I experienced in DC on January 6th. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe as they continue to flesh out Trump's master 7-point plan to overthrow the elections, apparently amidst blood and carnage. What the hell did we just watch? That last part was the best. That last part was worth the whole hearing leading up to that point. That last part was worth the whole Liz Cheney speech. We're paying for all of this, folks. We are paying for every single cent of this nonsense. Sam says, I want to know how a committee starts so biased. Well, I think we know, Sam. I think we know. All right, guys, that is all we have for tonight. I am glad to be back streaming again. I will be back tomorrow with Graphically Alex at 6 p.m. if you want to come and join us. We're going to be doing Sassy Saturday, so it's going to be really fun. George says, FYI, I'm tuning in and out as work allows, and you used to show in my feed during your live streams. Not anymore. Third live stream, I noticed it. Yeah, well, it happens. It happens, George, but, you got to set those notifications. Guys, if you enjoyed the stream tonight, please make sure you mount that like button on your way out the door. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are not already. If you think you are subscribed, just double check for me. We're going to have to see what's going on in terms of the rest of this committee hearing schedule. I will let you know. I don't know if I want to start watching this stuff at 10 a.m. I'm going to be honest. Maybe we'll do a recap. For my locals community, we will be doing a Bitchcraft tomorrow. I'm just going to confirm that because I think I might have double booked myself, but I just plan for Bitchcraft right now, and I'll do everything I can to make it work. I'm going to do an announcement in the community right after this, so we will be doing Bitchcraft tomorrow at 3 p.m. And if you would like to join my locals community and join us for Bitchcraft, which is literally just a Zoom call where we craft and we bitch, please head over to kb.locals.com/support and you can join for $5 a month. You can join for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can make a one-time gift. You can join for more if you want to. You can make larger gifts if you want to. It's all up to you. But if you want to join my Bitchcraft call tomorrow at 3 p.m., you do have to be a supporter in my locals community because it is a supporter perk. So we'll be gathering together. I will be knitting. You can do whatever other craft you like. You can crochet. You can quilt. You can do laundry. You can clean your gun. You can art. That's the beer talking. You can art. You can draw. You can paint. You can play video games. You can just hang out with us, whatever you want to do. But I'll see you guys in my locals tomorrow at 3 p.m. for Bitchcraft. And, we'll figure out the rest of it. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. And again, thank you so much for your support in the last week. I really do appreciate it. And I want you to know it really genuinely has made a difference. But I'm signing off right now. I'm going to go make a burrito. Some of you have got some pizza to order, I think. That's all we have for tonight. We'll see you soon.